We have upgraded our fancy intro. I told you that eventually we would have the full body art and I would put it in the intro, and today is eventually. I had actually 2 versions of that. One without all of the effects on the characters. I had one of them saved as AOA intro and one of them saved as AOA intro overkill. And I asked the party that was here early enough to decide which I loaded in. That was unanimously AOA intro overkill, so here we are. I never knew I rendered this for a reason. And Raz, for the absolute reckless flex last time.
I connected the chat just in time to read that.
Slowly
It was meant to be. Thank you.
Hero
It was meant
play
to be.
for you. So before we begin today's adventure, of course, we thank all of our sponsors as always, starting first and foremost with Paizo. We are at twitch.tv/official Paizo, streaming this every Saturday on their channel, playing their game and more or less their adventure with the degree of fiddling.
Stupidity.
Clown Fiesta, I believe, is
Clown
the word.
Fiesta's accurate, but I think the adventure is built to accommodate Clown Fiesta.
It's beautiful.
No,
Maybe
'cause
not
if
to our degree.
If it was, it would be Extinction Curse.
Oh.
Well, I cannot possibly argue with that. That's just objectively correct.
That's on the 10, actually.
We have the providers of our
book
new
says
great
so.
mountain of dice, as well as our fine dice trays over here at Norse Foundry.
They never betray you.
We have our discount code, which should scroll by below me down here, 2% under site gets you 10% off of quite literally everything. It's a direction from you. It's probably that way to you, I think, is correct.
I don't know how directions
yeah,
work.
that's
I'm
right.
thinking of how our overlay works. It's below me. It goes through. There's a new one down there, too, for Arkenforge, the map-making software / virtual tabletop we've been using for almost all this adventure. With a $5 discount code, 2 PER for $5 off their enormous fantasy essentials or sci-fi essentials bundles.
All of their
It
maps
is-
lead to redemption.
It is a very, very high-powered map creation software. You can do so many things in this, and it makes me happy to play with. I'm very bad at it because I am neither artistic nor creative. So I do not do them justice literally at all with what I display on the stream. They're promo videos where they have people who, have the slightest semblance of artistic ability. With blending and whatnot instead of just slapping crap on top of other crap, which is what I do.
But you can open and close
Shows
doors.
it off way better.
I know how to do doors and
You can-
carts.
But the doors are cool, and I'm here for the doors and the spell effects.
It's the little things in life.
Anyway, as we left off
Like Raz.
last week,
We were winning.
we had wondered, I think, completely.
We're the
we were
champions.
And we
past
didn't
winning.
kill anyone.
We were here in Katapesh
Not for lack of trying.
for now
Idiot.
to rescind the city's protections, the Pactmasters' protections over the Scarlet Triad, so that we can, in no uncertain terms, kick open their front door and, end all of them and not have to fight the entire city of Katapesh. We don't have a problem with the entire city of Katapesh. Shut up, Roshin. We have a problem with the Scarlet Triad specifically. I have to get in on top of that one.
One shadow war at a time.
You saw me inhale.
I'm like, no, sit down. Slavery's not canceled here.
Sit down,
yet.
John.
But
But I'm over here.
one of their staunchest allies among the City Council of Guilds that pulls in a truly impressive amount of coin to get them their seat is the Gladiators Guild. And their new guildmaster, Bishez Sandclaw's Shack,
I didn't
Is
know
it-
that's what you changed your name to.
pretty tight ally of the Scarlet Triad. So, Gladiators Guild is wont to do as gladiators do. And after finally getting her to accept our challenge, we left off last week.
After how many
After-
days?
Several. After triumph, it's been over a week since you started trying to call her out as this fight has happened. Having triumphed over not just her, but the 5 members of the Bloodied Blades of Katapesh.
Who we will
what are their
now
names again?
Who we will now call the Gladiators.
Bisepticles,
Glute.
Pectoralius, Swolion, Jadamus, and Glute. I have to look at the list. I know those ones by heart at this point. I
We
love them.
rehearsed.
The Gladiators.
I
I'm pretty sure he's very proud of this.
I was so ready for the gladiators. You have no
Yes!
idea. The boys. Unfortunately, a swarm of illusory spectral rats Did make pretty short work of them. They were
Their one weakness.
Yeah, they're great at punching things, not so much great at the mind-affecting illusory magic destruction, so it didn't go great.
Strong of body,
Wow.
weak of mind.
That's genius,
Yeah.
Blade
the
Tiger.
epitome of himbo.
Reference, you're level 16 as we fought them, yeah? Level 16.
And they're +3 to will saves.
Their will save, it's 20. Shut up. They only need a 17 to succeed against most of your magic. 16 because they get a +1 against spells.
Ooh.
So it's 21.
Ooh.
Not
Oh.
good, no.
So
lot
they're,
of
they're actually
failures.
better at passing will saves against spell effects than they are at being scared by an intimidate check from Raz.
I mean, that's accurate, but
That's
Except Raz isn't trained in Intimidate, so
I'm
it's
not-
actually it's really easy
but
to
you,
pass
you
that.
get my point. They have a +1 to spells, but you could still scare them despite their stature.
I mean,
and
Marshall
everything.
and I could probably scare them to death, actually.
you probably
Yeah,
we could've.
scared them to death. Yeah, that was very possible.
I feel like we should move on before we start talking about.
But
Yes.
as we begin today, having defeated them all in the sands of the gladiatorial arena here, we cut our session short immediately in the aftermath of the uproarious cheers of the crowd above. The announcer up on the platform where Sandclaws usually rests, crying out something across the top of this pit to the stands which you couldn't possibly hope to hear. You can just barely make out the blaring melodies of the trumpets above you down through the sands. When the portcullis from whence you entered opens up, slowly rattling up in its frame, and not even that far behind you, but again inaudible over the roaring cheers, and the master of the arena motions for you to finish your showboating here and make your exit from the sands. Claus is still laying here, as are the 5 Bloodied Blades, just kind of strewn all across the middle of the arena where they were stricken down. None of them dead,
They're all stabilized.
all stabilized thanks to Resme, who made sure that no one here was going to die immediately. If there's anything left you wish to do before you make your exit, now is your opportunity.
Absolutely. I'm taking the ink that was offered to me and writing out "You got lucky, never lasts" on her forehead.
Well, did you beat her in a gladiatorial combat, or did she fall asleep at your sleepover?
Either way,
I mean, I feel like tomato
I
at that
can't
point.
say it to her because she's unconscious.
She's not gonna be able to read it. It's on her
She
forehead.
doesn't need to read it.
You know what else? You know what else he's gonna do?
Someone's
he's
gonna tell it to her, and then she's gonna.
He's gonna take his shaving cream and put it in her hand, and then like tickle
tickle
her
her
nose
nose
with
with
a feather.
Dip her other hand in a cup of
All
warm
the-
water.
Exactly.
All of these at the same time.
See if
All
she
the
pees herself.
sneaking and thievery skills that Trishik has led up to this moment.
We really have
Wait,
devolved.
put her hand in warm cream.
Well, Trishik, I look forward to you spending this immediately, says Jade Tempest.
Give me an
on
excuse to roll a dice.
something sure to be stupid. Make me a performance check. No, stop.
Anyway, all right, here you go.
Marshall's
He is literally scrolling on Sandclaus's face.
while he's doing that, Marshall is actually gonna like activate his wings and fly around the crowd and like do high fives to his fans all across. Like
I forgot you had that. No.
so Marshall just erupts with the fiery bird-like
made of
wings,
potato
and then he
skins.
just
You know what? It seems
flaming potatoes.
seems fun. I'm just gonna cast
It's just
Visions of
just,
Dangers
Lay's
500 feet
potato
up in the
chips.
sky. It's just fire up in the sky now. Just a little fireworks.
Vision? You want to use visions of danger to make fireworks?
Yes.
That's
They're dangerous.
the spell that you're going to use to make fireworks.
It's 500 foot range, 60 foot
That's
burst.
not inaccurate,
Yeah.
but like I feel like there
it's
are.
not scary if you're not in it.
Yeah, it's not scary if you're not in it.
I mean, it is perhaps a degree of scary up there. They could tell it would be intimidating where they ended, right? I mean, it's a huge performance. How big of an area does it cover?
It's a 30 foot burst.
So it's a 60-foot wide. It is a fairly large performance you can throw up above you as Marshall is literally flying on flaming
just fly by.
high-fiving through everybody.
Does Marshall accidentally get caught in it?
That's way up above.
Only if he's silly.
Before we do leave the theater, while nobody's paying that much attention, I am gonna cast.
Wow, you do not understand the situation at all.
No.
No,
But
no.
continue.
I am gonna cast Outcast Cursed on her before we leave the stadium.
I mean,
I rolled a 6.
Yes. What'd she get?
33.
Oh, that's a fail.
Hey.
Well, Rasheen,
I actually wasn't planning on like just messing someone up or dicking them over.
your
Don't worry, the good character.
high school girlfriends here are currently clearly bullying an unconscious woman. And Marshall is flying through the crowd high-fiving at a speed henceforth unknown in the city of Katapesh.
I don't think there's really anything left that I can really do to add to
we're
the
leaving.
situation.
He's got to please the fans.
This is not your wheelhouse.
Not really. I mean, I can do something. This is a little overwhelming. So, Roshin's just kind of nod around, and then just here, sure, and just ushering her people back to the
The
gate.
children.
The children. Yeah.
I'm coming.
Look, now
I can't usher you.
You have no control over Marshall's action at this point.
It might be Trishik. It might be a log. I don't know.
You gotta move Trishik away, and just the logs fall over on the ground. And Trishik's there, trying to do
just
like
roll the log.
cocking that. The group of you making your way to the exit here, victorious. As the fanfare and the roars of the crowd fall far from silent behind you, but they're no longer near deafening, overwhelming, as the arena master, now here, the one that you had been introduced the first time, when you come to Dune Shaker, the red-haired man, who apparently has no proper name, welcomes the group of you back in through the portcullis as he's watching with his hand on the lever to seal this gateway once more. Just sort of shakes his head, throws the lever to close the portcullis back down, and just points at the door.
Thank you.
He's got nothing.
Pat him
Now-
on the shoulder.
The rest of the lads outside here have got much more to say to the group of you as you come in. As Lifter and the boys just kind of gathered around. It's less of the uproarious jubilation of the defeat of Duneshaker, and at this point more gobsmacked. Not silence, but admiration. They're excited, clearly, but it's almost less. So they had a very personal investment in this previous victory of yours, and then they may still to this one as well, but after a rousing bout of additional high fives, the huddle, the slaps on the shoulders, words of affirmation, Lifter is the first to speak through with anything of any real substance here. What's this even mean?
Well, we decided to show that big bully who's boss, and we did it. So,
Now you guys don't have to fight to the death by going into the arena. It can go back to the way it was, where you guys actually get to make a living without risking your life every 5 seconds.
It also seems like we might need to be having a change of leadership about these places.
I doubt old Sandclaws there is going to want to be sticking around any amount of time after the whooping you gave her.
It was way easier than I thought it was going to be, actually.
She stabbed me here and here.
How are you looking, buddy?
Oh, I don't think anyone healed me, so I just put my health
I
at
think
1.
you just sort of limped out of there.
I'm not healing you. I
shove a
am
potato
done
in
with
his
your
mouth.
butt.
Cast soothe. I woke up and just cast soothe on myself.
Clearly dramatically injured here. The rest of you, I think no one's severely wounded, to be honest. You definitely took some hits, to be sure, but
I didn't take too much damage.
yeah,
I don't think,
but to
You took friendly fire.
You
Yeah.
took a lot
Yeah.
of friendly
took
fire.
a lot. That's
I took a
actually,
lot of
forgot
friendly
about
fire, but-
I
I took-
was just thinking about the lightning blasts. I forgot about the friendly fire. You actually are probably a
the
little.
lightning
bit, but-
barely did anything to me. actually.
Marshall, danger close, Emberbeard is.
I'll throw a wand of heal on you.
Oh, thanks. There we go.
That's a lot.
Untouched as normal.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm gonna instantly die and just be like untouched until now.
We won't know.
Exactly.
Like,
Oh no,
His
Trishik will
corpse-
die somewhere. We'll have no idea. He just won't show up at the end of the fight. And be like, where'd he go? I don't know.
Well,
his log disappeared.
this is a strange bit of a sporting situation, isn't it? It was a group battle. It wasn't exactly a single combat like she came in for one old toddy before. And you see another group of figures coming in the staging area off from the side, from the doorway that leads deeper into the main body of the gladiatorial arena, the offices and where the business is done. A place that, the talent down here is not really allowed to pass through. It's the only place that would even have a stationed guard in this entire area, save for the entry to the arena floor itself. And from it come a trio of figures, led at their front with a man wearing a fairly bright orange robe and a large pin with the seal of the Gladiators Guild affixed right below the shoulder. His hair is all wrapped up in a darker but similarly colored headscarf, obscuring much of anything above his eyebrows and much of his neck as well, as it's wrapped around in two pieces, leaving you just kind of a slice of a weathered, dark-skinned face. He looks somewhat older, but not showing it through signs of wrinkles of any kind. He has a surprisingly well-kept, but visibly, again, weathered and aged face. Perhaps it's just the way the corners of his eyes hang a little bit, or just maybe even the look of experience he seems to carry. He's approaching with a pair of men who are less garishly dressed, but also bearing similar seals of the Gladiators Guild as they approach. The man in the front kind of waves a hand and acknowledges the group here. Well, it's an impressive show, if there's one that I've ever seen. Sorry, I don't believe we've been introduced. Amra Al-Jilfin.
Pleasure to meet you.
Are you the real leader of the Gladiators Guild?
I believe the real leader of the Gladiators Guild at the moment is out there on the sand still, being carted off. But
No one picked her up yet.
I am the head of operations. I run much of our financial and our business dealing side of things. Please, the group of you are, he just kind of looks at Raz, certainly weary from your encounters. If you would join me, not only will we offer you succor and tend to these wounds, we have perhaps things to discuss, I think.
What?
I think it's wise, certainly.
And Lifter just sort of puts a hand to it. Will be up on Marshall, but just sort of almost at the bottom of his shoulder blade, all he can really reach, the height difference of dwarves here.
Yeah.
And he just kind of puts this almost like the weight and turns to Amra here. What's this about? You never come down to speak with any of us on our shows before. And he just kind of looks down to Lifter and raises an eyebrow. Well, it's infrequent that the guildmaster herself is shamed within the arena. Come, please. And he
I look at Lifter. I'm like, it's okay, buddy. We'll discuss it later.
turns and walks back towards that door with his entourage, not waiting for the group of you to follow, but the invitation hang.
We'll follow. You think he's the power behind the throne?
I think he's the one who looks after the books. Can you just imagine Santa Claus sitting at a desk, like trying to go through ledgers and whatnot, counting out coins to pay people?
But doesn't that mean like he's really in charge? Like really in charge?
I don't know about that. It depends who.
Not necessarily.
We're following. We're just.
Yeah.
So as the group of you head through this doorway, the smell of just sweat and large unwashed man falls behind you relatively rapidly.
It's like.
It's like 10 of me.
As you follow through into a narrow winding stairwell that leads several stories up above the ground floor of the arena, to an area that seems like it would be below the stands and far out to the edge of the arena, about at the distance it can really get. At this point, you can still hear just the sound of the crowd emanating through the stone above you, though it is much neutered by the walls and walls of stone it passes through, aside from the fact that the bulk of the main show and the cheering has fallen out, and now it is just simply the noise of thousands of patrons occupying the stands a couple dozen feet above and aside. But he leads you back into a much more well-appointed area, sequestered away from the rest of the public walkways and kept clean, presentable, and displaying a bit of the wealth that the guild brings in on the weekly basis with these shows. I guess it wouldn't be day-to-day because they've only really got 2 major showing days in the week. And back into a similarly well-appointed office with a massive hide of what looks like a near boar-like creature, but one with a fairly thick but strangely fine fur splayed out across the middle of the room. The thing being near 15 feet in length and still left with its intact head attached on one end, bearing no tusks, but almost too fang-like, too far forward, teeth hooked over its lower lip.
Is it anything like the pigs that we fought back in that one fishing
It'd
town?
be much larger than that,
Oh.
but not really much in common. No, this looks like a lesser seen. If you're trained or expert in survival of the area, you might recognize it as one of the larger pieces of game that stalks throughout the deserts around the nation of Katapesh.
Desert Wendigos.
Desert Wendigos.
What a
Larger
bore.
than that, probably less murderous. Less of a problem. It is big animal. It's almost halfway between a boar and an elephant in a lot of ways, other than, again, has the same features of the snout and the ears, but without the tusks. And there was a large curved desk behind it. Strangely not curved back around where someone would sit behind it, but curved out almost as if where a council would be seated to host a group, but with only a single large, very stately upholstered chair set behind it at its center. And Amra, whose name I just cannot stick in my mind for some reason, I have to keep looking at it every time I say it, walks around this desk alone and takes his place in this seat, while the two guards he had come with him, less guards and more retainers, take their position at either end of the desk, leaving the floor open for the group of you.
Well, I guess we take a seat.
Well, it's not really seats for you so much. You are going to stand around this
Oh, I thought there was
drug
my bad.
here and pose heroically in
That's
front
it.
of him.
Can we do something about the bleeding?
And as he sits
Oh,
back,
right. I got that.
as he sits back behind this desk, and you ask that, there will be several of our medical team here before very shortly to tend to your assorted wounds from the battle. I was hoping that, given the nature of the situation and its possible pressing urgency for the future of the guild, that we would be able to handle several matters at once. You are gladiators, after all. Wounded as you may be, I'm sure you have endured far worse.
Ha.
I mean, maybe not Raz.
I'm not a gladiator.
No, Raz, you've been terrible. We had to peel you off the floor that one time.
Can we do something about the profuse bleeding?
Oh, you're fine.
And
Goodness gracious.
as
Look at all
that-
this paper you got here. We just cut some up and stuff it in there. It'll keep it.
At that, a pair of doctors would come in. The one in the front carrying a fairly large bag similar to the one that the halfling doctor had sported back in the Farmers Guild when you had checked in upon Miss Khalid. And the one behind him simply with what looks almost like a folder that he unfolds of smaller sutures and scalpels and strange needle-like, almost dental tools within. This is definitely going to be some less of the potion that makes you immediately feel better and more of the please stop bleeding on my carpet kind of medical attention that you're going to be receiving.
I'm not on
here.
the carpet.
It makes sense that he has dental tools for the cavities in your chest.
Oh.
They're big. Like 140 damage worth of big.
But as the two of them immediately assessing Raz to be the most injured here, motion you to just kind of sit where you will. There's no seat or anything for you. Just to hold well enough still. They hand you a folded leather strop to put in your mouth while they tend to your wounds, so that, should this inflict a remarkable amount of pain that you're not so much prepared for, you can just kind of bite down.
I take
boy.
it, set it on the ground. I just ask them questions the entire time.
But as they're tending to use,
Risky surgery in practice.
tending to you, Amra, see at the head of this table, there is near nothing set atop this desk. Its surface, wide as it is, spacious as it is completely barren of anything. Just kind of puts his elbows on, folds his fingers together, and looks over the group of you. Well, not much is an astute observation, I suppose. Gladiators, you certainly fail to look the part, though out there on the sand, none would believe that it was only your second showing within the city. And, if I surmise correctly, only your second in such capacity overall.
Yeah, our gladiatorial skill is more real world, practical, you might say.
More of a mercenary sort, I would take it.
No, we're not mercenaries.
I'm a teacher.
We're heroes.
Ow.
Heroes of Breachel, I believe it is the self-styled name you have borne for yourselves.
Well,
Heroes
it's a
paid
company,
handsomely in
actually.
coin.
It's written down. Looks right there on that paper right
See?
there. The word mercenary appears not once.
Well, it leaves us in an interesting
Conscripted
situation.
soldier.
So,
Who gets paid?
this leaves us in an interesting situation here. After the defeat of Sandclaws, though of course this has no official ramifications to her position as the guildmaster, I believe that it would perhaps be best for her to step down in the coming days. And I think we will find her more than amenable to that offer. which
very
means
wise.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
We
no one's
are-
gonna like her ever again.
we are left with a hole at the station of the guild master of the business itself.
I nominate Marshall.
Oh, really?
Oh, he'd be a fine guild master. Certainly could do just as good a job as Santa Claus was doing.
I look at Trushik. Is that what you call sarcasm, or does she actually mean it?
No.
No. We're,
Spectacular.
I actually
would
think you're
suit
perfect.
The job quite nice.
You don't have to be smart to be a guild master of a gladiatorial arena.
Marshall actually has a little bit of a tear coming to his eye. I'm so touched.
Well, this saves me a large amount of flowery words and pretentious preamble, then, because it seems we are of similar mind. You may have noticed, and I imagine much of your party may have surmised, Miss Bechez does not exactly oversee much of the day-to-day of the operations. The head of the Gladiators Guild is such, not exclusively in title, but in practice, it is much one to please the crowds more than it is to run the actual guild itself.
Well, I guess I'm the dwarf for the job then.
Definitely.
Well, of the group I see before me here, you certainly look to be the most fitting of the role.
Oh, thank you.
Though your
most
performance
barbaric.
on the sands hints at a stature that your, well, admittedly even here large for a dwarf body attempts to hide, you have given an impressive show that people of Katapesh will not soon forget. And those are not words I say lightly. The public is a very fickle crowd. They are like to forget the heroes of yesterday before the night's drinking is even done. But after the impact you have made, not only slaying Duneshaker, but now striking down the previous acting guildmaster herself, one who has earned herself quite a reputation and admittedly quite a fair amount of renown for the guild. This is not a name nor a visage that people will soon forget. And I dare say of the five of you, it is certainly the most memorable. You, and he kind of looks over towards Rashik, seem to be one too shy from the limelight. The two of you, I will admit, though proficient in combat, seem to largely be confused as to the showmanship side of things, and, well, he looks down at what's currently being tended to Raz. The impression that you have left is perhaps one fair bit less remarkable.
I did the most.
The crowd is fickle, my friends. They know not of where these spells originate or of what they actually, what they even entail.
That giant swarm of rats could have come from anywhere, Raz.
Oh yeah, anywhere.
They're hiding in Marshall's beard for all they know.
Those rats aren't even native to Katapesh.
What the people saw were parafolk down there weaving spells and casting wizardly magic they hardly understand, and a very, very large, flaming figure smiting down their guildmaster with a mighty axe, nearing a single blow.
That's generally how the group of us work.
It's quite impressive looking, I must say.
So, for that, a hero point, I believe, is certainly in order. From Cert to be Smash, Marshall, Smash.
Thank you. I will definitely do that.
It's the perfect. I can't remember the word. We're the perfect opposites of subtlety and showmanship.
Yeah, but the word
that's
you're looking
true.
for is foil, my dear. You're a good foil.
I don't
for
think he knew
Marshall.
that word in that
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
years.
Big brain place.
So it's not the word he was looking
So
for.
upon this, Marshall looks at I forgot his name too. I'm sorry.
Amra. I don't know.
also
It's like
forgot his name.
in one ear, out the other, man. I had a week to prep for this session, and I cannot stick this dude's name to my brain.
It's okay.
Notes.
I have a book.
So Marshall just looks at him and is like, "So, what you're saying is, as of today, I'm officially the new guildmaster?"
In the eyes of the public, perhaps even our conversations now are a formality. They, I imagine, would much believe it to be so. And, if there is anything I have learned in my years of running the operations of the guild, tending to the whims of the public is much of the business. Now, how long will this title reign? It is unknown. Miss Bechez only held this office for, 2 moons at best. Again,
But she was a jerk.
the public is fickle.
It's like a gnome soup master.
The longest reigning of the Guildmasters of the Gladiators Guild had the title for just a fair bit over a year. That said, what you have put forth on the sands is like nothing I have ever seen in a figure before. Truth be told, you would be one of the only people that I would have believed capable of taking Miss Bechez in single combat, if that had been what your mind was wont to do. But you came as the heroes of Breach Hill, and you triumphed as the heroes of Breach Hill. That said, I will put this in no uncertain terms, and I will build no false images of hope for you. History will forget most of you shortly.
I hope so.
Is to be expected.
as I imagine most of you want.
Yes.
Now, while the acting head of the Gladiators Guild is in many ways a formality, I need to impress the weight of your office upon you. If we go forward as we discussed, and you become the acting head of the entire guild, you will have say over the operations, and you will have as much a hand in this as you wish. That said, as you are not only a newcomer to this guild, you are a newcomer, I believe, to the entire city of Katapesh. I would advise you, as I have the dozen guild masters before you,
Told you, power behind the throne.
it is best, perhaps, that you leave the daily operation, the books, the money, the advertising, and much of the operations and the engineering of the bouts and the fame itself in our studied hands.
Oh, that seems actually very reasonable.
That's actually very smart.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not exactly great with words
He
and
just-
books. But, however, I will say this. I have plenty of great ideas that might improve the performance of the Gladiators Guild with some morality behind it.
He just learned how to spell his name in common.
Shh. I'm a dwarf. What do you expect?
Let it never be said that any of the guild masters of the gladiatorial arena were forced to sign their own names on the forms. But
Told you.
fortunately, this conversation has gone fair swimmingly and much easier than I may have surmised. It seems we have arrived at a similar conclusion then. So, by your forms, I believe Marshal Emberbeard was your title.
Aye.
Emberbeard is one I see no need in changing. Beshez Shock has a name that is known well to those of Katapesh, but is not one that is easily pronounceable or memorable for travelers. Hence the moniker of Sandclaws. But Emberbeard, it's profoundly dwarven. I would say it is a spectacular bit of branding. It both evokes the imagery of your visage on the battlefield there, your enormous stature burning, quite literally, over the opposition, and is one that will stick in the name of the public for some time to come. So, you have saved us the trouble of trying to think of a proper show name for our new guildmaster.
Guildmaster Emberbeard,
Oh, I love the name of that. Yes.
would you be willing to support us against the Scarlet Triad?
Absolutely. Wait.
Oh, good.
Wait. Hold on 1 second. Roshin, can I say the thing now?
Oh, go right ahead.
I'm the captain now.
That you very much are.
You did a great job. You did a
Good
great
job, Marshall.
You're not a
Speaking of which,
captain.
along those lines, we certainly have a bit of a vested interest coming up at the Council of Guilds, and we would like the Gladiators Guild to be voted in a certain way. Would Marshall himself be there representing your guild? Do you have someone for that?
This is not change. It is going to take place overnight. Believe it or not, there is a fair bit of paperwork and business behind the scenes that need to be done. Some dealings that need to be transferred. Some signatures need to be placed upon their proper lines.
Gotcha.
But as we have, I believe, 4 days until the Council of Guilds is coming out there?
I think that's right, yeah.
Certainly this could be all processed well and truly done by then.
Oh, good.
That sounds great. Also, if I may, I think me and Roshin have some ideas to display while you're filling out paperwork for filling in certain positions, if I remember correctly.
As I said, if this is an office we are going to raise you to, you will have as much of a hand in the guild as you so please.
Very well.
But we have not put this through yet. I suppose I can place things in motion. Go ahead then, Emberbeard.
Very well.
And he motions one of the retainers. And as he's still just sitting here, the retainer walks over behind the desk, kneels down, opens a drawer, and pulls out some things literally right next to him for him to write this on. As he simply waits for this all to be prepared in front of him with the quill placed in its inkwell. Then he nods as the retainer closes the door, stands back up, bows, and heads back around the edge of the desk.
That's handy.
What's your title, sir?
Mine? Official capacity, I believe, would be the legislator of the Gladiators Guild.
The legislator.
Legislator and the coin master.
Fascinating. I just can't help but notice that your chair is the only one behind this desk.
It takes surprisingly few hands to run a business once you've achieved a certain level of streamlined behind the scenes.
Certainly when you have people to open drawers for you.
We should hire this guy.
No, I don't think.
I mean, technically, after tonight, he's technically going to be working with us anyway.
No, I'm telling you, this guy's an amazing
I
administrator.
believe I'll already be working for you in an official capacity.
Fair. I'd like to.
Duh.
Don't get me wrong. I may be the new guild master, but at the same time, to treat everyone as an equal.
A small smile just kind of graces Amber's face here.
Resme tries not to giggle.
An attitude that I'm sure will be appreciated among the rank and file. Now, These ideas of yours.
Oh, I motion over to Roshin and I quickly whisper, you want to tell him the thing that we had suggested for Santa Claus?
Okay, so out of character, we talked about this like a week and a half ago, and it just left my mind.
Notes.
I literally just mentioned it before stream 2, but
We're not listening.
it's okay. Okay, it's okay.
Honk
Okay.
the bus horn at him before you run him over.
Okay. I'm sorry, dude. All right. So first order of business. I feel kind of bad for Santa Claus, just a little bit, but at the same time, I feel like, I think we decide to give it a little bit of mercy. We're gonna make our head janitor.
I can't imagine that Miss Bechez is going to have much affiliation with the Gladiators Guild much longer. It would be a complicated image for the public to have a retired guild master still performing services on behalf of the guild itself.
Yeah, I vote for her just not being here anymore. She can be alive, just somewhere else.
Well, she is not a slave. Her continued deployment with the arena is by her will, though as I said before, I believe she'll be quite amenable to our separation.
Well, I mean, it was a suggestion, but
Oh, sir, how about this, Marshal? We could commemorate it in a different way. And if you're dead set on humiliating the woman, she's rather terrible person, so I certainly don't mind it.
Exactly.
We could commemorate sort of like a mural or a sculpture or something along the lines. The final scene, as it were, with her in the sands and you standing over it, but sort of like a memorializing the certain event.
He has just kind of put his quill back in the inkwell at this point.
Yeah.
That just hands you a piece of
Finger sneak once
paper
more.
that has the whole thing written out, this dramatized, like, you can have people just read that in the streets, too.
Oh, you've given
This
some thought to
will
this, haven't you?
likely take them a few days to finalize.
Yeah, we should go.
Well,
Well,
we'll take
the
a
only
fair
other-
bit of organization, but if we have your agreement as far as the plan is concerned, the paperwork can be largely organized and in order now.
yeah. Well, I mean, I only had one other thing to ask, if it was all right. Lifter, the much shorter, squashed-looking dwarf that is down there, that's been here for quite some time.
I'm unfamiliar, but I'm sure I can have him called.
He looks like he's been hitting the head with a hammer a lot.
You have no idea how little that narrows it down among the gladiators.
Oh, he had the flattest head out of all of them.
Anyway.
Man looks like a little table.
Certainly have the rankings of the flatness of their heads jotted down in a different book of yours.
Snaps real quick. Of course, he was the one that protested when I had arrived back in the staging area. Right. I'm sure if I can't remember that face, that someone can.
I would like to... I mean, I understand that your position is about...
Man, you are so tickled by...
Anyway, I understand that you're in charge of the books, the money, and, some of the more... what's that word? Important paperwork, I suppose, and whatnot. However... I have some business I have to attend outside of the guild for a short time, but in my absence, I want to appoint Lifter as my personal second right-hand man, for lack of a better term.
Yes, I'm certain that is something we can have organized.
If that's fair.
Well, I understand that the group of you have a busy schedule, and though you, again, are surprisingly amenable to this idea, this is all quite sudden. But I have
Yes.
taken the liberty, in the eventuality that this was how the fight had come to pass, to prepare some things in advance for you. And he reaches down underneath the table
I really do want to hire him.
and pulls out what appears to be a sheaf of paper, at least 20 pages or so thick.
Picture of the
That
ice-cold bureaucrat.
And he puts this down and sort of slides it across the desk, and then reaches under the desk once more to fetch a second thing himself here, and pulls up what at first is, you're not even positive what it is. It is a strap of some kind, looking like a belt, if there was a belt that was built to take up 1/3 of the front of your torso, as the front of it swells up into a massive gilded metal faceplate on the front, engraved deeply with the symbol of the Warriors Guild, and almost jagged bladed design around the outside of that. More various pieces, smaller plates of embellishment and shapes around the outside of this as the belt narrows down to only absurdly thick around the rest of its passage.
Marshall's eyes are immediately wide.
And he places this folded with this huge sigil propped up by the back of the belt, tilted out towards the group of you. I would not be surprised if this is something you have not seen before, given, as I'm to understand, your brief stay in the city of Katapesh so far. But, Mr. Emberbeard, if I
Yes.
could simply have your signature on a few places among this contract of dealings with the Gladiators Guild here, the belt of the Station of Guildmasters is yours to take right now.
Identify item.
Very well. Are you
To
okay?
handle it. Do you want to come pick it up? And
Well, remember, you can identify as a single action.
It's there to the group of you. You
Yeah.
can certainly do that.
I would like to
Gonna
look at it.
help Marshall sign that paperwork. I'm just gonna hand him a stamp and a little roller of ink.
Oh, I don't need that. Takes
No,
a
no. That is not an officially archivable source of signing paperwork.
But it's me blood.
Yeah, that's awful. Use the ink. Archivable.
Fine.
And he motions you to about 6 places throughout the document,
Stamping holes through the paper.
pulling up pages a half dozen at a time, and simply directing you to the next place to put your signature.
Raz, what's this word, mate?
It's like buying a
It
house.
says
is
sign
Anne.
here. Sign.
And that's one.
Give me your Arcana check, Resme.
I just take the claw, start
Here.
signing for Marshall.
Not a fee.
No, so that's going to be a +2. It's going to be a
And on the very last page,
38.
Sorry.
You can go ahead, and I'll get to that.
Oh, on the last page that Marshall signs, he crudely doodles his personal symbol, which is basically his face with an axe behind it.
It looks
As
like
you write this out,
Look at the PI.
Resme very quickly picking up this belt and just looking it over. You don't even need to cast Detect Magic anymore, just sort of assessing its aura. You have just like almost magic sight at this point. It's definitely enchanted. Oh boy, is it enchanted. This belt here is actually an incredibly powerful piece of equipment, perhaps befitting the station of Guildmaster of one of the richest guilds in one of the richest cities in Galarian. This belt, if Marshall wears it, he's free to take it with him if he signs his contract. It is going to massively fortify his already asinine level of resilience. Putting this on and investing in it and wearing it is going to make you borderline indestructible in several ways. First of all, I'm going to give you more mechanical than I should on a regular success, because this is one of the few items in Pathfinder 2nd Edition that is going to affect the numbers that are on your sheet. So I'm just going to, for convenience sake, give them to you on a regular success.
Okay.
If you wear this, it is going to increase your Constitution by 2. The raw stat,
Ooh.
which is
22
We're into
Constitution.
Apex
which is going to
items.
buff your modifier by 1. And in addition, it is going to give you 15 temporary hit points every day that are just going to last until you lose them. So your max health is going to change also because your con is higher. And on top of that, you have 15 temp hit points pretty much at all times. Beyond that, it has an innate power that you can focus and call upon to become not immortal, but I'm going to go with immortal adjacent. And you will gain a healing factor to rival Roshin's,
Which is much definitely needed.
possibly stronger, once per day as one action.
Oh
And
my.
that is activated by focusing and then literally hitting the symbol in the middle of the belt.
Seems pretty Marshall flavored to me.
No, you need to jump off of something and then slam on the ground.
Belly slam.
We are 17th level now, friends. We are getting into the big lad items.
Yeah.
I believe this is the party's first Apex item. The enchantment upon this belt is so powerful, and as you invest in it, it affects you. So it affects your physical being so severely
So he's even more swole?
that you could not possibly benefit from 2 items of this kind. Apex items are so strong, they have such a direct effect. You can only have 1 Apex item at a time. That's not a problem right now, you've only got 1.
Yeah.
But for the future, you can only ever have 1 Apex item. Here's your first one.
Well, I mean, that's not going to be a problem until we have at least 5 of them.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to give Marshall the strength one, the con one, and the wisdom one, so he stops failing will save sometimes.
No.
Sometimes.
No.
Strength is
Part
going
of
to
his charm,
Roshin. Will can go to either one of you. I assume you want
But-
intelligence.
Yeah.
I'm not intelligent.
No, but I assume you want it.
Signing
duh.
your life away in this contract, reading basically none of it. Here's your first
I
Apex
just,
item, my friend.
as the last senior goes on, he's your problem now.
So Marshall
You
tries to
thought
belt.
he was signed over to you. You were signing over to him.
And
Good
Amra
luck.
kind of smiles again. Well, based on what I have seen so far, he is the problem that I, on behalf of the Gladiators Guild, will be glad to have.
You say that.
No,
Give it a
seriously.
week.
So Marshall puts on the belt and immediately starts feeling some of his magic. You like see him like just flexing. Goes, oh yeah, the Emberbeard is ready.
Look at the doctor. Can you
Emberbeard
hurry?
is ready.
Can we take you somewhere?
Hey,
Marshall, your
Macho
pecs just
Man
keep
Randy
twitching while you're
Marshall.
tightening on that belt on. I don't quite understand how that works.
I can make him dance. Watch. Bum, 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 bum.
At this point, you would have received 40 hit points back from the attention of the doctors, and it would have stopped the worst of the bleeding. You would
Still
be
some trickles.
Yeah, largely stitched
Yeah.
and bound up well enough to not bleed all over the floor any further.
Krasach.
And,
I thought to soothe on myself.
Amra nods and slides the contract over to his side of the desk and turns around. Excellent. Excellent. Well, Mr. Emberbeard, soon to be Guildmaster Emberbeard, I believe that
Plus 40.
with the Gladiators Guild of Katapesh, we will build a bright future for each other in the coming months.
Agreed. He goes to shake his hand.
And he just kind of reach out across the desk. He'll humor you.
Does he have a ring on his finger anywhere?
Amra?
Yeah.
He would not know. He has no actual outward display of jewelry whatsoever, which is, in the city of Katapesh, a lot of people, big display of wealth. Other than the fact that his garb here is brightly colored and somewhat visible and of quality make, he doesn't have any massive displays of wealth, really.
I see you're not wearing a ring. Does this mean you're not married?
Does she want to marry everyone?
Resme,
Yeah.
how many boyfriends do you have?
Oh,
I
no,
am-
not for me.
0 successful ones.
If anything, married to the success of this guild, to which I have dedicated my life.
I mean,
You
I
know,
can.
Sheeny, he's a good catch.
Now, Mr.
Are you joking?
Emberbeard,
I
I will organize most things behind the scenes here. If you would grace us with your presence sometime after the 12 Days show this coming week, the day after would be fine. That would
Okay.
give us the day before the Council of Guilds here at the end of this Erastus to finalize everything and organize you as the guild's representative at this council, should you wish to attend yourself.
Oh, very well. I can do that.
Now, congratulations, heroes of Breach Hill.
Haha.
Oh, I guess we should go home and change and do some shopping and sleep.
I think we should have a celebratory feast as well.
I mean, you can go do that. I'm not going with you though because it's not. No.
Was there a prize pool, now that I think about it, for beating the Guildmaster? I don't actually recall.
think
We were just very excited on the thing itself.
The prizes we now run the guild.
I believe
mean-
after everything that I have heard of your attempts to engineer this fight in the previous days, this was a battle of status, was it not?
I mean, it
One
was.
for the hearts and
Did you-
minds of
in
the
all
people.
fairness.
So,
I'm certainly not dragging it down. I just want to make sure all the details are tied up.
that,
Organize
Don't
the,
worry about the money right now. Just
you organized the fight
Party
without
mom,
a prize?
that said,
I thought you were
oh,
smarter
Shane,
than that.
it's okay. I'll take care of you.
I'm sure there is something that we will be able to perhaps come to an agreement on.
We'll work it out. We'll start with votes. That's
Well-
the most important thing right now.
I guess I'll see you 12 day, correct?
The 12-day evening after the shows, after the sun has set, or the wheel day following will be fine.
All right. See you then.
And he just kind of nods, smiling to the group of you, still just as the retainers both move to open the large double doors that led back out of the hallway and usher the group of you out of the Gladiators Guild victorious to continue along your day. But as you walk through the doors back into the well-appointed hallways behind the area, you see that the hallway that would lead to the nearest exit out the public way and out the, not so much the front door, but one of the side public ingresses of the arena itself. The hallway is largely blocked by an enormous figure that is sort of stooped over, almost a cylindrical brass helmet tucked down to not kind of scrape off the top of the ceiling here. A huge purple figure squeezing his way through this hallway, 6 arms kind of drawn in close to fit.
That's another one of those things.
Glute.
He would see the group of you here as he looks up. And just sort of spread his hands. You can hear the grin in his deep voice. He speaks. Ah,
It's Halloween Thanos.
the heroes of Breach Hill. So, I see you have come from the office of the true guild master. Things perhaps proceed apace as I had expected.
Aye. And who might you be, good sir?
I would not forgive you for forgetting my stature from the battlefield. You know me as Bicepticles of the Bloodied Blades.
Oh, that's one. Okay. Sorry.
Please tell me you have a real name.
That is his
That's
real
a
name.
fine name.
No.
What should be given him?
He's got a
Are you
real
telling me
name.
that's a fake name?
Bicepticles is a fine name. We can call you that.
No, you've got a real name.
Just look at those biceps. He's got so many of them, and they're spectacular.
He's got 6 of them.
Sort of flexes all 6 sets of his arms
You
in
see?
a bit.
It's better than a name badge.
The title I have worn closer than any true name I have been given for months now upon the sands of this city. And one I would be honored to wear under your tutelage, if one of you has accepted the title now of Guildmaster. Surely in the infinite weight of her ageless shame, Sandclaws will leave tail tucked between her legs, never again to grace the sands of this fair arena. But I revel in this.
Why are you talking in third person?
She couldn't kill me, which is very sad, actually.
You are very small and frail.
I am
the fact that
extremely small and frail.
Given
yes.
the efforts of her focus, on the last of my waning consciousness, she seemed unable to strike you down.
Oh, I should probably apologize to the group of them. I cheated. Magic is kind of cheating against these guys. They like fair fights, on-on-one.
Have you seen what they can do? I don't think it's cheating.
Oh, no.
They didn't have a
Bicepticles
chance.
is
Have you
very
seen our
powerful.
command of the natural elements that flow through this world?
You fell to a trick
mean-
of fake rats. They're not even native to Katapesh.
I mean, in all fairness, I kind of like the whole lightning thingy that they did earlier.
Oh, yes. It touched my hair and gave me lots of good volume.
This
up
is the
there.
first that I and my brothers have tasted the bitter tang of defeat in this arena before the gathered crowds. And it is not so easy to topple our will. If anything, we have been inspired by your might and your vigor on the battlefield.
I
It
bet
makes for a great story.
Well then.
Spurred on to fight ever harder to reclaim the valor we once held in the eyes of the people.
I'm going with them.
Okay.
You're going with them?
Yes, I want to talk to them more.
I don't think... Oh, fair enough, fair enough.
Well,
Oh, find out what his real name is.
Well, it seems actually like, Marshall, you might have a protege here.
Bicepticles, I would be happy to show you the ways of my fighting style and maybe some other things along the way. However,
Style.
Your weapons are massive, and the way you wield them, unwieldy and near untrained. Your reliance on their sheer bulk and force is not something I believe we could come to grasp, but perhaps given time. No, our desire, perhaps, is to simply be allowed to continue to compete in the arena, in the eventuality that perhaps someday we may match ourselves against the heroes of Breach Hill on the sand once more.
Of course, Felix.
They should start from zero.
anyway,
Go back down to low tier fights, not using weapons, just their own strength.
And he kneels down, folding all 3 sets of his arms crossed in front of him,
I like this guy.
and bows his head down, still only maybe 2 feet of clearance from the ceiling. Bicepticles is a very, very large man then.
Does he have quick squeeze?
Then it will be so. If you will have us, we will continue to fight. And we will restore the public's faith in the Bloodied Blades of Katapesh.
you know what?
You will see in time.
I'm gonna put my hand on his head and say some nonsense words in Elvish.
Nonsense words of English.
You will not regret your choice here this day.
You know what?
They do
Marshall,
one-on-one fights.
compliments.
They don't fight as a
I
team
accept
anymore.
this, and I will accompany that the Bloodied Blades will continue the fight in my new arena.
Oh, Bicepticles, before you start squeezing off down that hallway, We understand that the previous guildmaster had some nefarious dealings with the Scarlet Triad. Terrible business it was. You wouldn't know anything about it, would you?
Thinks. This silence. Bisepticles is thinking.
You asked him a hard
That's not
question.
silence.
Put
That's
his head
gears
down.
grinding.
He puts a fist on the chin of his helmet.
Why do I see sparks coming out of his helmet?
Oh, he's trying very hard. I really appreciate the effort he's putting in.
Why did
doing
you
a
ask
good
him
job.
question? You're so mean.
Apparently.
This
He's charging up his ultimate attack.
is a title that I am certain my ears have heard prior.
I
There's
see.
one whose renown I cannot recall.
Well, that's quite all right, Bisepticles. If it's occurred to you, you're going to go ahead and just write us a letter or tell someone to kind of get it to us.
It is a poor title for a team of gladiators, the Scarlet Triad, but then again, so too is the heroes of Breach Hill.
Hey,
Though you
hey,
have brought it honor through your deeds.
It is a poor title. I agree with that 100%.
It's a terrible title.
Smack the
You know what?
rat.
If we have anything to do about it, you'll never hear the name again.
Till then, well, as stated, like I said, I promise that you'll keep fighting and restore your honor. But till then, I say we call a celebration tonight. I'm gonna take the boys out for a drink. You're more than welcome to join us.
Ha! My brothers and I revel in private. We take no joy in the vices of this city, save for the one. No, when you see us, it will be at our appointed time again on the sands once more to prove our valor to you again. And he puts his two top fists together. To our future battle, we face once more.
Very well.
we should get these guys some like really cute pets.
Stands himself up and just sort of like shuffles with all of his arms, trying to turn himself around in this hallway that is
Oh,
way
wait.
too small for him.
Why did he come down this hallway?
You have to come talk to us.
Well, he could have waited for us
apparently-
outside.
They need to learn a thing or two from Gugs.
Sort of pushes his way down
Oh
through
God,
here
let's leave before anyone else comes
towards
and
the
talks to
door.
us.
And Nicorus in the chat with a villain point. Bisepticles!
Well deserved.
Who will
only use
restore
that.
his valor.
You'll save that villain point all the way until like the after story when Marshall's fighting them
The
again.
epilogue.
You can only use it for
epilogue.
Bisepticles.
But with the group of you, but Marshall certainly, whoever else wishes to join him in an afternoon and a night of revelry, feasting, and copious amounts of ale, I am certain. Or
Not my
however it is
wheelhouse.
you celebrate not just a win on the sand, but another guild behind you. Because
And a
I'm pretty sure
title.
this guildmaster is probably going to vote for
I
you.
think
to
he
count
will.
as the
I
guild.
sure do hope
I think
so.
you can. I really would like to hope you can count on this one.
I guarantee it.
Do you?
My intelligence is not negative,
It's not negative.
It's not
It
negative.
is neutral.
and I have +1 on wisdom.
I was
Eventually,
actually about to ask if your wisdom was negative.
No, it's a +1.
as the day passes, the sun sets, and the group of you make your way at some point back to Zater's estate, however late in the night that may be. You would see no sign of the Medusa. She does not appear to have returned from whatever venture it is she is undertaking as of yet.
I hope the member of the Farmers Guilds. I hope the leader of the Farmers Guild's doing okay.
Oh, it's very unfortunate that we get that taken care of, but it's been quite a day.
I try to say her to it.
You look plum tuckered out, Sheeny.
I know no one's worried about
Rats
me.
under the armor.
Nobody cares.
No one cares.
You did this to yourself.
I did this to myself.
You deserve this.
Trishik, Mr. Trishik. Actually, I remembered something. I'm working on a project, and I need your help filling in the holes because you're the only person that don't know who's doing what.
What exactly do you need assistance with?
I reach in my bag of holding, and I pull out a book. I'm cataloging all the adventures of the heroes of Breach Hill, and
Take it and open it.
Redact pages.
there's just
Start just ripping
empty
pages out.
like
There's a
Trishik
lot
was
of
doing.
pages in there that are gonna not be in there.
Well, there's a lot of pages where you're just not in there. Period.
Even better.
Like I need.
I don't have to rip them out if I'm not in there.
Yeah, I need your help filling in the gaps.
I believe I can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, can you make some stuff up for me? I say inside your head. Make it good.
Absolutely.
It's already embellished and flourished out.
Resme has a crippling addiction to slumber wine.
Regardless of having to dip out of the battle 3 times because she could not forestall the call of Pesh. She still persevered.
I didn't even know what Pesh was till you told me.
They don't have to know that.
No, she'd be a
But-
shiver kind of girl.
Re- Resting well
Who doesn't
this
like
night,
drinking spider venom?
I am sure.
That's what it is.
When
It's a
you
brimming
awaken,
glass of spiders.
when you awaken the next day, Moon Day the 27th, it is now officially, 20th, sorry. It is now officially the week of the Council of Guilds. You have but a few days before you, if there is anything left that you really could do. But at this point, you have worked through so many different guilds that trying to spread to more of them may somewhat be a fool's errand, and perhaps at the expense of the allies you've already made, especially
We're
given the
good.
condition of,
Yeah.
Lalia Khalid, the Farmers Guild, and the tenebrous at best promise that you've received from the Fleshmongers Federation. You want to ensure
old
this is all going to
fleshies.
work out how you do, or how you think it will. As you awaken that moon day, going through your morning's preparations, your nice breakfast, readying your spells, there is still no sign of Zater. As far as you can tell, she did not return in the night, and she did not leave before you. She simply is still gone.
This would be the next day.
This is the next day.
I would still not be awake.
Marshall would be asleep on the roof somehow.
Somehow.
Power of alcohol. That's how. But
Got angry, got really tall, stepped up onto the roof, fell asleep, and immediately shrunk down.
I mean, I also have wings.
the three of you, I imagine, spend much of the day trying to reinforce your alliances. And is there anything else in particular you wanted to accomplish?
I want to look for something.
Yeah, we need to go look for some gear.
Okay. There's some things we want to acquire.
We do.
Fair enough. That is very much within your purview. When you have like 11 guilds supporting you, and now the time has come to physically prepare as well as we can. What is it that you are after, my good friends?
I would like a greater resilient rune.
And I think we need to get Marshall one too, because I think that's why you've been failing saves so often. We need
No,
to get
I
you a different.
really,
Greater
I mean,
resilient?
maybe.
I mean, I did.
We have
I had a-
resilient runes.
Yeah.
Greater resilience.
I
are
guess that's fair. Yeah,
expensive.
they're not actually something that you could super easily acquire at this
Yeah,
point.
no.
Well,
Yeah.
Marshall, drunkenizing his way throughout the town, surely for hearing that there was nothing important that needs doing. Second day of drinking and being the best. You at this point would very much be a renowned public figure after everything that's happened in the arena yesterday.
The
belt-
Emberbeard understands his title and capital status.
It is perhaps inevitable that you would find yourself back at the Gladiators Guild once more, even though there are no major events happening today, and you know the paperwork is not going to be prepared. But you would come to a discovery that, interestingly enough, there has been some discussion amongst the Gladiators Guild. Santa Claus has, as expected, unceremoniously resigned, and quite possibly will not ever be seen here again. What she is retired to go do throughout Katapesh, what other holdings she may have, what lies in future for her, nobody knows. But for the moment, the guild is officially leaderless, as everything has not been formally passed over to you quite yet. But with her surrender, everything that she had together, her armor, her gear, all of that were things that she had claimed from victories in the pits prior. And what's his freaking name, dude?
Amra.
Amra. Why
Good job.
can't I remember?
Thanks.
Amra thought it perhaps both a fitting prize and an amusing irony to bequeath her surrendered gear unto you as winnings for your battle yesterday. So you'll receive a +2 greater striking javelin, a pair of +2 greater striking kukris,
Cash.
and
Sounds like money to me.
a set of +2 greater resilient scale mail.
Ooh.
That is, again, formed from the panoplies of several prior gladiators that she had defeated on her way here.
All I heard was +2 resilient,
Yeah,
greater
do you
resilient.
still want to go buy one of those?
Well, we need 2.
Okay. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I gotta pause. I gotta do this first.
Yeah.
All right.
So
you can
I
still-
can move Marshall's from
He's
his.
getting one. You're trying to find a second.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can move my own too.
That's true. You can.
That's
You've got
right.
crafting.
You're competent in things
We
other than
have
hitting
3
people.
He's a
entire
dwarf. He can craft
crafters.
things.
He is a dwarf. He's a force
I mean,
dwarf even.
It's going to be
I'm
very
only trained,
difficult.
but it's still.
This is
I'm trained in crafting too.
gonna be
We have
tough.
4
You
crafters.
Give it a shot. So you want to go try and find another one of those, Rasheen? Did you want to get
And
something
plus, I
else?
got all day.
So I want to go buy a pair of greater doubling rings because
That's
I,
11. You can just do that.
Yeah,
that's
I can
common.
go punch
Like,
something. But I also want to go and try to find a because we can actually afford one of them. Another +3 weapon potency rune for Trushik.
From my claws.
Your claws.
Okay, so
hands.
Katapesh is 13th level.
Yep.
A major. It's not. It's a major striking. It's just +3.
It's just
potency,
+3
I
potency,
think.
yeah.
Just
A
+3,
+3 potency weapon room
Only.
is 16 or 17.
It is 16.
Is 16.
Ooh.
It's a little.
I will let you seek that within Katapesh on the condition that it's going to be even harder to find than your traditional things. In fact, this is going to be an undertaking that is probably going to take you several days.
Okay.
Vis-a-vis most of the time left to the Council of Guilds. But I would let you 2 days. Let's say 2 days before the Council of Guilds. So
Okay.
we'll have it a double. So Resme, give me your check to try and find your slightly over-leveled thing, because there's only one above Katapesh.
It's only one
That's
above
what it's for.
Katapesh.
Diplomacy, Society are the traditional two to spend a day perusing the markets and try to find something of
Well-
particular value.
I'm going to use diplomacy, as well as our new name, which is probably very popular in town right
Yours
now.
Rachel's
And,
pretty well known in Katapesh now. You're subterfuge out the window. We're not stealthing anymore.
and as of this level, I am also legendary in diplomacy.
There you go.
Well, then I hope you make this check. That's going to be embarrassing for you.
Legendary failure.
I hate you. Ha! That's all I needed. That's fine. That's going to be a 42.
Yeah, that's way enough. That's super enough, yeah. So with a
Perhaps
42,
we should have had you find the more difficult item.
you want to find the more difficult item, and Roshin can go pick up the
probably
bigger
for
one.
I'm
Sure.
going. I'm,
Maybe
I'm
Raz
going.
can
Oh,
go
Raz
with
can
me.
help you?
Y'all,
Okay.
y'all just forget about the rat, please.
I was
I'm
gonna go and like.
I did, honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm going with her. I'm going to use my connections to help her find what she's looking for.
solid. You get a
Ooh.
+1, and you can roll your diplomacy or society here.
I'll assist.
again,
Are
it's
you
just gonna
also
take- You can
legendary?
assist. This is going to take you again a couple days to do, but I'll let you roll it here.
That's above a 20.
I'm a master.
So you get a plus. You're
Yep.
trained.
I am trained. Yes.
You get +1.
Yeah. Actually, it's a critical success. If it
Plus 2.
matters. Okay. 32.
Wee. Okay, I'm going to roll it in the dice. Can you move the dice straight?
Yeah.
They're mobile now. The camera's attached to them.
I have long arms, and I want everyone to see this roll. So I'm going to use society, which I'm a master in.
That's 12.
12. So
I'm honestly
plus-
amazed your society is hired to do diplomacy. I guess
I'm not.
I guess that
I
like,
know 27 languages.
proficiency is a hell of a drug.
So that'll be plus 32, so 44.
Is that with your +1 from your connections?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You sure?
Let's see, 28 plus 1.
44.
30 plus 32.
44 would be able. I'm looking at my DCs by level here. I think at 44 you would be able to track down a +3 weapon potency rune. I would also say that again with the 2 days of work and the amount of effort it's going to be involved in sourcing it, you are pretty confident that finding another one within the walls of Katapesh is going to be nigh on impossible. Trishik, what are you doing?
Sleeping
All day.
all day.
Dude, the lizard is tired.
Lizard is tired. Trishik is like,
He just grew. Do you know
gonna-
how much he had to molt to get this big?
he's got to gather his strength. He's a big boy. He
There's an
needs-
entire Trishik like skin thing
You're
left in the
cold-blooded.
tub.
So I mean, like, it takes a lot of energy to go do stuff, and you've been doing a lot of stuff.
It's the desert. It's really hot.
It is really
That's
hot.
fair.
It's one big siesta. It's just-
And Marshall parting through getting all of his rewards from the Gladiators Guild there.
Yep.
What are you rolling? What are you doing?
To move his rune over.
To move.
Oh, you want to move your rune over?
Yeah,
You
I
want to
gotta
move that
remove-
over, right? Okay, give me your crafting check, sir.
Crafting.
I'm gonna go ahead and redeem said
Yeah.
hero point that I was given earlier today because I'm definitely gonna need it. Much better. So that's
Respectable
going.
number.
Yes. So that's going to be a 33.
And this is the Greater Resilient, which is
Yes.
the 14th level rune. will succeed.
Yay!
It barely succeeds. doesn't
DC
it?
32 on a 14
Oh,
level
wow,
item. Yeah.
nice.
So you're in there. So taking your winnings back, I'll let you use this downtime day to.
I mean,
move
that's
this
pretty
over
much
for
all
sure.
Marshall's really going to do, other than like look over the Gladiators Guild and like revel in what is eventually going to be his.
So you can basically switch the ribbons between the two pieces of armor here, taking this upgraded one onto your own breastplate and putting this one on Santa Claus's scale mill. So the group of you,
And then whatever I'm not using, I'm just going to eventually give to Roshin to sell.
the dumpster pile.
Party mom will take care of it.
I'll move my rune over whenever I have the next day,
Yeah,
too.
the group of, well, you can do it tomorrow. The group of you reconvene back together at the end of the evening with your various things you've collected, except Trishik, who is just unconscious, and Trishik's in a super coma.
I'll leave him some bread for when he wakes up.
Do you think lizards eat bread?
Yes.
Bread.
Bread.
He eats a lot of things. I
Bread.
see him eat a lot of
He
stuff.
eats
I'll
lots
get a
of things,
goat
yeah.
and just tie it up outside.
He's not a
Not a
chupacabra.
chupacabra.
Thank you.
I have a more important question. If you're molting, do you shed your skin like an actual snake and like just laying around outside somewhere, or?
I think the scales
In
just
this
fall off.
particular case, I'm pretty sure it would just be like one entire sheet.
With the suit
Marshall
on.
would
Yeah,
Fine, they're-
just a skin suit. The like.
Don't call it
tux. No, the tux comes off as like a. Like I shed the tux too. Now I have.
That's
two
what I was
tuxes.
saying.
See,
So one of
Your
them is made of
equipment grows
scales.
with you.
so Marshall
Yes.
being
He's
Marshall.
just gonna put a log inside it,
weird.
and that's his new default.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say Marshall would take the old skin and be like, "Hey, look, it's me. I'm Trishik. I do backflips and stuff."
It
fell
specifically
doing a
says that all of my gear, all of my magic items, and everything grows with me, except for specific, very
Yeah,
powerful
you don't have
items.
anything that wouldn't
Exactly.
Go. Well,
I don't have any artifacts.
the Eye of the Wise wouldn't go with you.
I don't have
But
the
I got
idolize.
that.
Yeah. Oh, you have the thing.
I have
anyway,
the
so it doesn't
duplicate.
matter. Yeah. So, resting that evening, awakening the next morning. 2 days left until the kind of hit it on already. Trishik wakes up in the morning. Well, how you feeling, buddy?
Tall.
He's a tall boy. What does everyone see as they come across you finally emerging from your literal 24-hour hibernation?
Well, about an extra
Fine.
2 feet of height, an extra 30 to 40% body mass, and I'm size category large now.
I immediately get him another loaf of bread.
2 bread. I get 2. Are they the big loaves?
Yes.
You know.
What did you eat last night?
What did he eat last night?
Well, he didn't eat
But I-
anything last night. He
Where
slept.
have you been? What has he been doing?
He's been sleeping.
I don't believe you.
I've been watching him.
It's a
The
thing
entire time.
Well, not the entire
You're with
time.
me.
It-
At this point,
it
the
can
interior
happen.
of a building is difficult terrain for you due to the fact
Sorry.
that
Where's
Yeah.
Zater?
Sorry.
We haven't seen her for quite some time,
I
Trishik.
don't know.
Own up to it.
No, this is a thing
Why are
that
you
can happen
surprised?
to a lizard folk.
Why?
Th-
Look at the size of
Why?
it.
Look, you're
I
being
just point out Marshall.
You're being very judgmental, Roshi.
Why are
this
you
is a
surprised?
This is a cultural thing
No,
that
don't
happens
you
with
give me
lizard
that.
people.
Don't you give me that. You're
No.
messing with my head.
No, this is actually a thing that
No,
can
this is
just
what
happen.
happens.
Eroxy sometimes.
Sometimes you just wake up and you're twice your normal size.
Where's
Oh, he's
your-
not twice. He's about
he's
2
not-
foot taller.
Does it go back to it?
He molted.
No.
No, you're just big now.
Yes.
Just sorry. Clothing costs more is more expensive for you now. That's just what happens to
Pretty
you.
much. Have you ever heard of a raven Nile?
Well, what?
It's a type of eroxy.
I
When,
think you're making words up.
Now,
No,
why
they're
are you being rude?
bigger than I am, actually.
I mean, I've
Roshin,
seen some lizard people
Roshin,
that
we have
were
seen
pretty big.
much weirder stuff than
Roshin,
this.
why are you
the city
surprised?
of Katapesh would be the place
I
where
knew
like
him.
large-sized creatures are somewhat common because most of the genie folk that are around are large. Like
But
they're
like-
this isn't like, oh, well, we're in a city where there's large-sized
Yeah,
creatures, so
there's-
Trishik naturally will become large. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
oh,
sense.
Oh no, it's like Roshin the
through
only,
osmosis, he absorbs the size of the general people.
mean,
around him.
Blend into your environment.
I mean, in all fairness, Roshin, I'm probably large. If it wasn't obvious, I'm larger than most dwarves. So, are you really surprised that Trishik grew his size overnight?
Oh, she's
You're
surprised that
different from just being big for your age and actually have it. How are you gonna fit into hallways now?
Hold on. Go stand at the end of the hallway. I want to show you something interesting.
Oh no.
He doesn't have a bow on him, does he? All right.
So,
All right. So now what? Go.
Eldritch Horror, large lizard folks are going to crawl under the top of the door. What is the top of a door called? I can't remember.
the top
Door
of the door
frame.
Yeah, the top of the door frame.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whatever that part is called. You're just going to see a large lizard folk crawling under and around that and then down the hall. It's quite unsettling.
You're
That
moving
is-
like a gug,
It
Trishik.
is,
Exactly.
Ah.
again, your average doorway is difficult terrain for you, but he can just
Quick
kind
squeeze.
Of quick squeeze.
So
through
wait,
it.
are
You can-
Gugs really just larger mutated lizard
No.
folk?
No,
Oh, is
absolutely
it
No.
not.
possible? It could be. I mean, it's moving
No,
very
they're not.
They're,
sure.
Yes,
I don't know.
Positive.
He moves kind of like one now.
It's like a
Trishik, does your head do this?
you head open sideways.
turn my head.
See?
No, you're
I don't know.
stupid.
I kind of buy it.
Rasheen, don't listen to Marshall.
Are you sure?
Yes.
But regardless of Trishik's
I don't know what's real anymore.
size, he's a
Lord.
big boy now. A small observation that Rasheen made in jest, still true. You have still seen no sign of Zater. It has been about 2 full days now since you've seen her, and it is
I am getting worried.
unlike her to not return to her own abode in the evenings. This will be the first time you've seen her gone for the full span of a day, much less 2.
All right. Let me so I'm
Should we
gonna
go looking for her?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw
In the
down
city?
a bloodhound mask to make me better at tracking.
Oh, don't be worrying about that. Roshin's gonna take out a piece of chalk actually and just start drawing a
What are
complicated
you-
sigil
what are you
on the
doing?
floor.
In her living room?
Just all over her
Okay.
walls like a child.
No, floor,
It's
all
chalk.
over her floor like a child.
Like Marshall.
And just kind of focus on it for a bit and start this kind of ritual of this sort of yellow-tinged magic kind of flowing out and empowering the circle. This is locate, discern location.
Ooh,
Locate, discern location.
First, got to find the spell.
First, you got to remember which order the words of the spell name are in.
Locate,
Okay,
discern.
so what exactly does certain location do?
So discern location
Discerns
is
locations.
Thank you. What-
very helpful. So great to have you here. All right, discern location. So it's 10-minute ritual. I pick a creature or an object. I have to seen it in person, or have one of its significant belongings, or have a piece of its body. So I've seen Zader before. I'm in her house. There's personal belongings all over the place, and I'm sure her snakes have shed something somewhere. So I have all 3 if I need to.
Accidentally just part of my recent shed.
I
Does
learned.
Medusa hair have to molt?
That's a
is-
please
question
let's
for
not
you.
go
It
there.
is a scaled, living.
Yeah, I mean, I
Thing.
Would
Would that be
suppose it
considered-
would.
Would that be considered dandruff? for
Yeah,
her?
it's really bad. That's horrible dandruff. Just peel off the tube on top of your
Ew.
head. Okay, so you do have all 3. I would absolutely, you could
Once a
certainly
month, you're
find.
just super
Be quiet.
crinkly.
I learned the name of the target's exact location, building, community, country, and plane of existence. So I don't get a vision of where she is. I basically get like her address on a postcard where she currently is. I don't know why they worded it that
Building
way.
and current location.
Yeah.
So it is literally you get her postal mailing address.
I get her Google pin that drops on the map thing. Yeah.
you as you.
How much you want to bet she's at the Scarlet Triad's pyramid?
not. She's not.
Well, I mean, let's find out, and I'll bet you after I know.
That's my guess before you say it.
As you cast this out, you would get you get no vision, you get no sense, but you can feel a pull, and though it's distant, it is strangely precise. You know nothing of the whereabouts of Zader, but you know where it is, and it's in the western portion of the dockside district of Katapesh. It is not within the Red Pyramid. It is in a section that is largely located to food storage warehouses, like meat curing sheds and things like that.
Right.
And you dropped something on the,
The
floor.
sound of
I've heard
meat
it.
curing.
That right.
Kieran.
She's
Drops his chalk.
warehouses, food storage, docks area. What's she doing there?
Probably still hoping the food guild person.
The
Food
Farmers
Guild.
Guild master.
Possibly.
Well, at the very worst, we should at least go and check.
I think it's a
I
good
agree.
idea. Here, I lead the way. Roshin will gather her things and we'll
I
head out
can
the door to
ride
find
your
her.
chic now.
You
So-
can
They're the large carrot.
until I go through doors and have to squeeze through.
Are all
Then
of
you just get ripped off.
Are all of you coming to this? Are you
I got-
following up on the leads? You have to
I'm-
lead it, so like.
I'm following up on the leads.
Okay, you're gonna try and go find that
Yeah.
item.
Monk.
Is everybody else going?
I'm gonna
You move your rune.
move my rune over. Yeah. I'm guessing they can take care of
Two
it.
going.
I guess
the
we'll
help?
go. Yeah.
Roshin and the help are going to head out through the streets of Katapesh. So you make your way winding through, and as you travel around, you can see that some of the places throughout the marketplace here, as you would have seen for the last few days, are decorated in some kind of very brightly colored pennants and ribbons and bits of festival decorations. It's not a large portion of the area, but it is only certain sections of the markets that you would pass through here that are more Gurundi in nature. And those of you who have any real knowledge of the world, I don't know if anyone really know of the nation of Gurund, really. None of the three of you would have any idea why this is here.
The society people stayed behind.
I'm
Yeah.
trained in
I'm looking for
society.
something you
The
want
holiday
to
of
find.
some holiday decorations of some format to the Gurundi people, irrelevant to what you're currently doing. You make your way around, even though it is pretty much due east of you. The wall that divides the dockside districts of Katapesh from the intersection from the Golden Oasis district, where your Decisator's estate is, where you stay, does not have any passages or gateways. The city itself is largely a giant ring. So you do actually have to go through the relatively lengthy journey, probably around the less unpleasant northern side of the city, where you're less likely to get stabbed, around to the inner docks. And this is far enough in from the shore that it's past the loading warehouses, the seaside taverns, and it again has come into more long-term storage facilities that are closer to the wall. What your magic directs you to is indeed a warehouse, though it appears to be one of salt. It is attached to a meat curing facility. They are one and the same large complex, but it is on the end of this row of storage facilities and warehouses, surrounded by small roads on all sides, a decent distance back from any main thoroughfares, with a large set of double doors on one corner that look like they're attached to a loading bay. There's a very stoned over flat area outside where wagons can be parked and loaded directly in and out, but several other smaller doorways punctuated throughout. There is an open window on the north side of the building. Its shutters wide open, but peeking in only shows you the interior of a very small office with the door leading into the main facility closed. The other windows of the building are shuttered on the inside.
Would you like me to go inside?
Perhaps. Does Roshin think she has a prayer fitting through this window?
It's a normal sized window. It's not small. It is. You could absolutely climb through this. Like, if you want to smash the window in and climb through, 100% you could. While this is on a relatively small road, it is not an abandoned road. That is something that will be probably visible to somebody.
Not if I do it.
Not if you do it stealthily.
Exactly.
Yeah, Roshin's not doing that stealthily.
He silence the
Perhaps
grass.
you could go inside and let us in the side door.
I'll go and open the door. And large me will indeed quick squeeze through tiny window.
Well, the good news. Oh, the tiny window.
Yeah. It's already open.
Well, the shutters are open. There's glass. It's still a window.
Well, I'll force it
Oh.
open.
Bird just.
I thought it was open.
I thought it was open
that was,
too.
well, sorry, that was on me. It's open as you can see through it.
Ah, okay.
Because it has
Okay.
shutters that are open, but it still has paint glass in there. Maybe I'm not gonna make you freaking rely on like to force open a regular window that's not reinforced
I
or
was
anything.
gonna thievery so I don't break it.
Yeah, either way, this is wildly below the skill level that there's a point in having a 17th level character roll for it. So you can definitely jimmy this window, squeeze your giant lizard body into the office inside, which is still pretty small for you.
It's a good thing it was empty. Imagine if you were like in there or something and just this giant lizard.
The Tyrannosaurus Rex just comes squeezing its way into the window.
Now you know how I feel sometimes.
With a single door that leads deeper into the facility. Opening that, you would see that other than this office, this small little section of two offices in the northwestern corner of the structure, the whole rest of the warehouse is just an open storage area. It is one massive empty chamber. Well, I mean, there's things in it, but I mean, single chamber. In front of you are two huge piles of salt that are just laying on the ground, sorted to some way that you can't really discern. You're not sure why it's two piles versus one, but it's very coarse. This is not dinner salt. Yeah, this is piles of salt rock that are heaped up. And these tower up over most people to about 7 feet high and a little bit about chest level for the new gigantic Trishik lizard. So you can easily see over these to the rows of warehouse shelving that run much of the rest of the length of this building with much smaller bins of more refined processed salt. On the other side of these two paired heaps of salt, you can see salt strewn all across the floor. Much of it also mixed with streaks and sprays of bloodstains. Clearly visible on the back side of this are 2 figures. One of which curled up, almost a fetal position, slumped near the nearest set of warehouse shelves, is clearly Zader. Scimitar on the ground not too far from her. And on the other side of the actual piles, a much larger, but weirdly similarly themed snake-like female figure. Unlike Zader, she is snake the other way. She has dark black, normal human hair, but everything below her torso is a massive serpent's tail that is just kind of strewn across these piles where she has been cut about to ribbons and smashed into these piles of salt. Neither of them are moving.
Well, gonna go get the door. Because I can't do anything about that.
As you open, I imagine the nearest one will be the big loading door here
Sure.
to let
Just
Roshin
open up the door, hand comes out, big claw.
let Roshin and Marshall in. There is enough natural light coming through skylights on the ceiling that at this point in the morning it is perfectly well lit in here, near as well as the streets outside. You can see that there is another large double door bay on the side of this building. It seems to connect to the meat curing plant aside it. They are linked directly. But the two of you coming around these huge piles of salt that you can't see over, you would see much the same scene.
Oh dear.
Not exactly sure what happened, but this is what I found. Obviously, there was a fight. I don't know why.
Roshin's gonna go up to Zader and just check her. I mean,
As you get close to these shelves and where Zader is here, you can see that while the vast majority of the shelves are set with these bins upon bins of this refined salt, this area across from where she is, on the racks on the far wall alongside the meat curing plant, much of the goods on the bottom row of the shelves going 20 feet back have been replaced with a huge assortment of alchemical components, most of which are simply standing glassware and are empty, but a fair amount of which, nearer to the front end, these bottles are these different bottles and pouches of strange resins and other things that look not too different from salt themselves, are filled with something. Bending down to check Zader. Are you trained in medicine?
I am not.
Make me a medicine check. I have magic. Why would I be trained in medicine?
I mean,
Fair. Yeah.
I get a 10.
With a 10, you have literally no idea how to check for life signs on a Medusa. Much of her body is scaled and much firmer than, human flesh, so it's not exactly super easy to, check for a pulse through scales. You do not know how to even tell if she is alive, but
I have
Marshall,
scales. Let me check.
Can you see if Zader's okay? Well, clearly she's not. What am I thinking? Crossock.
I got a
don't care.
19.
I don't
Heal.
need medicine.
I have magic.
I have magic.
So,
Either it takes or it doesn't.
as you cast
Just a level 1 heal.
level 1 heal into Zader here, you do feel the magic diffuse through her body, which is something that probably generally does not happen with a corpse. I don't know how frequently you've attempted that in the past.
I haven't actually ever, but I mean,
It happens with corpses, they get back up.
that's true. Then they fall over again.
That does a different sort of diffusion, but fair. And as you heal her for, I imagine, a pretty small amount of health.
Yeah. She gets 10.
10.
She gets conscious.
She would shift slightly and just sort of furrow her brow and wince.
Oh,
and
goodness
to move a
gracious, it
little
works.
bit. And as you talk, she takes an ear and kind of puts it up, or takes a hand and puts it up to where her ear would be. She doesn't really have those. so much. And you see her kind of weave through the snakes and just reveal a little, almost look like a drilled hole in the side of her head. The blood is running out of.
Oh, they got you good there, didn't they?
She just sort of opens her eyes and looks at the group. You want to get Zader up? Are you alive? I think our producer died.
It happens.
Knowing that it actually is, I'm not trying to heal a corpse here. Let's go pull something a bit stronger. And this is a level 5 heal this time.
And as you go to heal her and she kind of opens her eyes, make me a fortitude save.
Glasses aren't on.
I was about to ask, does she have her glasses
She
on?
does not know.
It's like,
We've told her.
Divine Aegis!
We've told Roshin about this multiple times.
I'm distracted. That's going to be a 40.
Okay. Well, 40 will succeed. Does this do anything on a success? I don't think it does, but I'm going to double check.
Slowed 1.
It might be slowed 1. That's not looking just for what is our flavor? Our flavor is Rasheen still doesn't understand why people keep telling her this, or no, you are fine.
Okay.
You
did
still
anything
don't
on a
know what's
success.
happening.
You still have no idea why everyone's so concerned about this.
So I don't feel like a tremor or anything?
No, I mean, you would look and you would maybe feel like a strange pang inside you, but you're not really sure why.
Could be because you're hungry.
And she'd swear and shut her eyes closed again. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's just odd.
And she puts a
I'm
puts
rolling
a
it here.
hand up in front of her face. It literally just like physically holds it kind of in between the two of you so she can look sort of around her hand, but not directly at you.
I'll look around for her glasses.
She's going to get 62 health back.
And as you heal her with this second thing, she would sort of suck in air a little bit. Oh, that feels very strangely good.
It hurts.
This, I assume.
They tell me that sometimes.
What? How did you find me here? What sent you, or who?
Milani's gifts. Or someone's gifts.
It was Dingus.
I'm.
Those stickers.
And Marshall, looking around, you would be able to find her bag, seemingly drop near the door, pull the glasses out, and hand them to her, and she will put them on.
Rushing!
Oh, that's spectacular. Spectacular. Wouldn't want
Get
to.
it? There's spectacles.
Spectacles on her. Yes, there we go. There we
Slides
go.
those back on and opens her eyes back up. Well,
The light must be hurting your eyes here. This should help out.
Right.
whoever this Milani must be, I owe her thanks.
I'll tell you about her
Did
sometimes.
not go quite as
Oh, boy.
well as I had expected, but
So explain to me why there is another snake lady.
this is Ishti, and I believe she is the source of our problems.
Marshall goes and checks the corpse of the snake,
And
other snake lady.
She doubles over. You can see that you've healed her visible wounds pretty well, but she is pretty clearly still in like agonizing pain here. Even though there's nothing visibly wrong with her on the surface. I have worked with her. She is a very adept poisoner. Something that I unfortunately have now felt myself.
Poison, you say?
She poisoned you. There's no honor among poisoners, it seems.
Not at all.
You see how much larger she is than I. If I had not done the same, I do not think our battle would have gone much my way. Also, she seems to be fairly adept at magic, which was something I was unaware of.
Why did you turn her into a statue? Everyone was talking about how you can do that.
I tried. She is not weak of mind nor flesh.
I suppose you came prepared for that sort of thing. It would make sense if you're going to poison someone like yourself.
Well, if you came to amuse me in what may very well be my last moments, I thank you for the gesture. If you intend for me to last any longer, please, and she just kind of gestures at all the alchemical crap a couple of racks away, do something.
Hold
Trishik?
on. I'll go take a look at everything over there.
Till then, Marshall's gonna pull out.
Are there any
the,
antidotes?
So looking through, there's not a whole lot that is still left over here, but there are quite a few things that look to be fairly interesting. Ishti here does not seem to be terribly interested in organizing or labeling her collection. Much more that these are the things that she is going to use, and they are organized in the way that she is going to use them. Make me a craft alchemy check to spend a couple of minutes going through this and seeing if you can find anything. While he's doing that, what are you doing, Marshall?
I'm taking out my tater stick and I'm gonna stabilize her.
Fair enough.
I am an expert in medicine,
Okay, I mean,
and I get my +2, I believe, from my tater stick. So,
give me a medicine check. It's actually not impossible. This is useful.
didn't roll very well, but it's still a 30.
With a 30, using the guidance of the tater stick and its latent magic here to tell that, again, the healing is dealt with most of their physical wounds, you can use a medicine check to attempt to help somebody with a poison.
I at least want to slow it down.
So yeah, you try to treat her as you can, but you can't tell much of what was applied to her or exactly how without any knowledge of the poison yourself. But you don't necessarily need that to just
Alleviate symptoms.
alleviate the symptoms and slow its effects.
I guess while that's happening, Roshin can continuously give her heals every now and then. Now it's, Roshin's not the one who's curled up in a fetal position on the floor making fortitude saves. Now it's someone else. I can repay the kindness.
Rashid, flash heal. Marshall, stick.
Yeah, stick. But also I have restoration. So if she has any sickened conditions that are making it harder for her to pass her checks or anything, I can remove those. Too, with
As
that.
you look her over, it's sickened condition or something like that. I don't know if you can hit this with restoration. She seems very shaken. She does a decent job of biting it back, but she is frightened 3 and fatigued right now. As you look her over, something that is not reducing with time. And as you interact with her more, as the two of you tend to her, as Trishik looks through the things, she a couple of times seems to sort of lose track of the conversation, once even losing track entirely of who you are, addressing someone, a name you've never even heard, and it's not even sure if it's at you so much as over your shoulder. She is not in a good way.
I got a 36 to check the shelves.
Yeah, with a 36, as you look through there, you find a couple of things. She is no fool and has both a pair of, I think it's major antidotes, is the third tier of them that will be on the shelf there, as well as something that seems to have been brewed specifically as an antithesis to a poison that is no longer here. You find a couple of interesting poisons that you, might pocket and take with you. One of which you absolutely cannot identify. It is a...
I'd have to actually sit down and try to
Oh,
identify
36
it.
won't do it.
Yeah.
But it takes 10 minutes to identify
This is
it.
10 minutes of you. I'm just going to give you as
okay.
a group here. 36 fails to identify what exactly this resin is. It's a resin that seems to be... It sparkles almost like sand in the light, but it's jet black, and there's very, very little of it. You can't imagine how this would be applied other than contacts or on the blade of a weapon, and it's extremely potent, but you do not know what it is.
So
I'm going to guess that's Nightmare Song.
So I can't do anything to remove her frightened or her fatigue condition, but I can cast heroism on her, which will offset it by 2.
There you go.
There you go.
So that'll help her.
I did have a question, and this is just like a mechanics question. So Marshall does have the Marvelous Medicine Stick that does have neutralized poison on it.
He could try to use that.
It's once a day.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot
You
about that.
can give it a go. You get +3 on the counteract check. So I mean, it might be worth a shot.
It's a level 12. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
And that's just a medicine check, right?
It is a counteract check.
It's a counteract
of
check.
The item stick, which is a level 12, which is plus... Is it plus 20, I think? Based on the DCs I have here, I would assume it's 10 less. So plus 20, and if you have
And
an
then it
extra
gets
3, it'd be plus
+3.
23.
Okay.
To attempt to directly
And
neutralize the
and
poison.
it's a 6th level. That's what it's counteracting
Okay.
at.
Well, I attempt to smack her harder with the stick.
Beat the poison out of her.
Beat the poison out of her.
Marshall's helping.
Marshall is helping.
That's how they did it back at home.
That's not a bad roll either. So you said plus
23, I believe.
That will be a 36.
36 is pretty good, but it is not going to. It doesn't seem. You discharge, maybe even on half on accident, the magic out of this stick here. The magic of the potato is not quite enough to deal with Zader's woes here.
So what else was on the shelf?
You would find 1 dose of whatever that is. You would find 2 doses of a simpler poison that is in 2 flasks of a rather viscous green liquid that has a strangely almost sweet scent to it, and is difficult even to convince to come out of the bottle along the blade of a weapon as it would be applied. 2 doses of a poison that are largely meant to deal with an unfriendly wizard of some kind. They're not super powerful, but they would stupefy and mentally enfeeble whoever was stricken with it.
They might addle the brain, you might say.
It's not Addlebrain.
Really?
No, it's a different thing.
Okay.
And
Anti-wizard poisons.
And you would find 3 doses. You could take another crafting check later to try to identify these individually properly to get more. You would find 3 more doses of a last thing, which is a clear liquid in these larger, rounder, almost like a hip flask, like a drinkable quantity, much more than the other two doses. That smells almost alcoholic, faintly, and a little bit fruity. And this you would identify directly as Isolation Draught, because you critically succeed on this one. It is quite weak. It's DC 25, so it's not going to be super, and it's ingested, so someone has to be fed this.
So it's money.
But it would slowly shut down the senses of the consumer. This is not a potion that is going to kill somebody. This is one that is going to make them incapable of interfering directly in something you want to do. It's going to, it literally directly gives you a penalty for perception checks, and slowly accumulates dazzled, then deafened, then outright blind on the victim. For a period of some minutes, up to, this has been going to last almost half an hour in some cases. So this is more of a long-term incapacitation than this do damage.
Yeah.
Not like Slumberblind long-term, of course.
So I will bring the specific, what appears to be manufactured antidote.
Notably, this antidote, look, from what you can tell of it, it will not counteract the effect of the stronger poison that you have. This is for something that is not here.
I will keep it then.
There are also, along with the 3 sets of the Isolation Drought, there would be 3 specific curatives to that as well.
We don't need those.
You would what?
We don't need those.
Fair.
But I will definitely hand her one of the major antidotes. This will at least be somewhat useful.
And she would nod, and as she goes to reach for it, her eyes would roll back in her head, and she would collapse backwards onto the ground.
Catch
But
her.
Not into Roshin's waiting embrace.
Pop the
and
cork and feed it to her.
She sits there, kind of writhing, but it seems less in pain, almost as just a strange discomfort. And she starts to mutter something under her breath, and the 3 people without languages, a language that how many languages you got? Do you know a lot of
4.
stuff?
I have Draconic, Aruxi, Common, and
It's
Aquan.
Draconic! You do actually speak Draconic. She would start muttering under her breath, almost like, please. Pleading with some entity, some figure that's not present, that she seems to fully believe is directly in front of her. Who went to the Farmers Guild before? It was just you?
Mm-hmm.
You would absolutely recognize this at this point as, if not identically, very similar affliction to what had befallen Lalia Khalid.
Nightmare salt. It's the same thing that they hit the guildmaster of the Farmers Guild with. I recognize the symptoms.
As expected.
Now, you would know that this, from what I've been explained, nightmare salt sounds like it's something that would be ingested as a literal salt, whereas this strange resin you can't identify seems like something you'd put on a blade. This isn't.
weird
You don't think
powder.
this is nightmare salt that you have?
Not anymore. I thought it was Nightmare Salt.
Yeah, but I mean, with this
Yeah.
information now, you don't think this seems like it's something that you stab somebody with. You don't think this is nightmare salt that you have.
So there's the poison that's missing, and there's an antidote here for said poison that's missing, which is presumably nightmare salt. So I'm going to try that.
And you give her the major antidote, which will give her a bonus as she starts
An
convulsing.
item bonus, different from the status bonus from heroism.
I'm gonna give her the
the thing instead. You're gonna keep the major antidotes now.
yeah.
Okay.
Because if
You
this
give her-
is the specific antidote to nightmare salt, I might as well try it.
Yeah, you will try that one first. That's the antidote. What's the worst that can happen? And
Dr. House.
As she takes that, and it's still kind of just ranting and draconic, sort of, again, almost curling up, like almost defensively, like she's trying to protect herself in your arms here, Rasheen. It starts to slow a bit. And she actually, at that point, would go completely limp and just fall unconscious.
Instead of nightmare salt, it's good dream salt. It counteracts.
Marshall's gonna check her pulse and make sure that she's stable.
You are an expert in medicine. You can find the Medusa's pulse. She seems to be
It's located in Dingus.
stable. She seems to be okay. Unironically, you take the pulse on the underside of one of the hair snakes. Is the thinnest part where you can get to it.
I grabbed Dingus and I checked Dingus.
No, she's not dressed as she
tongue
normally
just
is. She
like-
has this fine scimitar that's on the ground next to her, and she is wrapped about in some like almost drapings of leather armor. That's almost more like it just kind of hangs down, almost like a kilt past her legs, rather than proper guards that would wrap around the shins of the thighs. But she does not have her usual hooded attire to conceal herself. She's pretty clearly a Medusa in some armor. That said, she got here, so
It's somewhere.
Roshi
well,
was
that
hoping
or it's
back-
not as big of a deal, and she just doesn't like going around being
But-
obviously a Medusa because she came here like
bedroll.
this. Smother her,
But for,
roll her
for now
up and,
she's stable and seems to be okay.
and
from what I can tell.
the group of you can bring her back to her estate.
We'll grab
just-
we'll
it's
grab
just
anything
lumber
that
wine.
looks like a good thing to bring with us too. Like
All the
the
salt.
scimitars, not the salt.
All the salt.
All of the salt. The
want
whole
me to-
house.
salt?
Wait. Does my bag of holding get larger? Like in size, not
No.
capacity?
She would have.
Can I fit bigger things in my bag of holding?
That's most of what you would find. You would also find a dagger with a short, stout handle and an almost completely triangular blade, the sides of which are just a little bit curved as they go to their points. That looks like it had been dropped by the larger snake woman that Zader fought. You could take that as well.
Sure.
Do you want me to carry her while you
Yes, we can take turns if you get tired, because I think you'll be able to handle this all the way back.
Oh yeah.
And it would just be the two of them there. No, like, side room.
There was one other small office, but it's abandoned as well. It looks like a warehouse that
I just
hasn't been used over the weekend and the beginning of the week here.
I'm sorry. Oh no, I was just gonna say I carefully wrap Seder and like even cover her face a little bit just so that we don't get too many stares and gently pick her up.
Her hair is much less active when she's unconscious, so
I know,
all of
but-
the snakes, fortunately for the group of you, are not trying to constantly
Get
worm
out.
around and make their
What's
way.
happening
You would
over
have
here?
to
What's
a couple
over
of
there?
times
Still.
see one of them sort of worm its way out off the left side of her head here. That would sort of
It's
just
kind of sad when you.
poke its
going
way
on?
out from the bedrolls.
It's
push
kind
it
of sad
back
when
in.
you could say Marshall is the medical expert in this situation.
Yes, you
You
are.
actually are, though. But the group of you
Dr.
return
Marshall.
Dr. Marshall.
later that afternoon. Around the same time, I imagine that Resme, there's no way you could fail to move a 14th level we're in at this point, I'm sure. And Rez would come back with a pretty fantastic new weapon room. And with that, I think we should take our midstream break here as we are rapidly approaching the Council of Guilds.
Bum, bum.
You know,
I think we've been.
Roshin trusted Raz with a very big purse of coins to go buy that weapon room.
It's all bread.
What are you saying?
You now own a bakery. Good job.
All the bread rolls you want.
We have spent all of our time in Katapesh building to this moment. When we come back from our midstream break here, Council of Guilds is one day out. All right, it's time to, well, see if we can reap the fruits of our labors.
That's not
Don't go too
retrieval.
far. We'll be back in probably about 10 minutes or so, everyone. Refill your drinks, grab some snacks. Don't go too far. Be right back. Welcome back, everybody. As we left off there, I'm just going to go right back into it.
Right.
We had saved Zater from a poor fate, writhing on the salt warehouse floor, dying horribly.
She got salt in her wounds. Oh no.
Oh, imagine getting cut to ribbons in a literal salt warehouse.
Yeah, not only are you poisoned, you
Just the air would sting.
The bigger one got thrown into a salt heap, getting cut up to
Yep.
pieces with
I
a
mean,
scimitar. Like, she had a bad day.
In all fairness, I don't think it matters when she's dead.
That's fair, she died, so, like...
Did you just
Who
not
cares?
even bother with her corpse? You just saw it, said, "Oh, she's dead," and walked
No,
away.
that's
Didn't
how
even
you
check
preserve
it.
You
You
throw
didn't
it in
even
the
check
salt.
it.
And
mean-
that's when we go to the Council of Guilds.
So, the rest of that day, you would move
Preserve your
the
meats.
rune over to your own armor? Or
Yeah.
To yours, and you
I
had
needed a
retrieved-
3, so I'm not thinking it's going to be that
you
hard.
had retrieved the +3 potency rune after tracking it down and finally finding one within the city walls
Got it
here.
gift wrapped.
That would leave you with the day before the Council of Guilds. Zader, of course, being brought back to her own estate, would not awaken for some time. But after a couple of hours, would regain consciousness and seem to be in much better control of her faculties. She's still a little bit off, clearly. But she's able to tell you, she doesn't go into a lot of detail, really, about what exactly happened in the adventures of Zader and Ishti somewhere else. But she does tell you that Ishti was the source of the problem. She was the one who got her hands on the nightmare salt and was brewing a whole bunch of other secondary awful potions. She is pretty confident the Scarlet Triad sent her specifically to undermine your efforts in the city so far, hoping that removing Guildmaster Khalid would undermine your support with the Farmers Guild, and that Miss Khalid herself should be okay.
Okay.
The same antidote that you had recovered had been dealt with beforehand. That was actually largely what Zader was up to the day before. 2 days before at that point, actually, while you were doing your your arena battle. Council battle's
Technically
next.
a
I mean,
council battle.
technically, yeah.
Your arena battle.
It was a battle
in
for a
the
seat on the
gladiatorial
council.
Coliseum. She was first trying to ensure that Khalid would not pass, telling you all that the Nightmare Salt is extremely deadly, and if this had waited perhaps another day, maybe 2 if they were lucky, the Guildmaster probably would have died.
Well, good thing we caught it then, huh?
So, with no further information on exactly what she had been doing for 2 or 3 days, she unceremoniously retires to her own room to sleep properly. She does not feel good.
I don't
and would
blame
like to
her.
sleep off the rest of these horrible, horrible poisons.
I don't blame her. I unceremoniously cast Nightmare on Retrieval.
This will leave you with but a single day before the Council of Guilds. I imagine largely still consolidating your positions and preparing things and probably putting a +3 rune on some
Yep.
weapon.
Yep. That
Oh,
might involve an
sheets.
actual roll.
On the Trishik's things. So this
In
is a 16th level item. So yeah, roll me a crafting check real quick to see if he's got it on before you
Sure.
head out
I
to the
can
council.
assist.
Go for it.
Let
Just
the
don't
peop-
roll a 1,
Let the
please.
people who are good at it do it.
I think even if he does roll a 1.
You rolled a 19.
Nice.
Nice.
And
And
you're
you're
a master.
master.
41, and I'm a master.
So you get +3.
Nice. Thank you.
Well, while we're
Circumstance
doing that,
bonus.
I'll probably be at the guild getting
You're signing
stuff.
papers, right? You
Oh,
gotta-
jeez. Okay.
You gotta finish getting everything ordered.
That's a
with the-
50.
with the Gladiators Guild. So you finish signing your life away to the guild, finalizing everything. They want to present you as a new guild master at the Sunday's events, but understand that, of course, you have pressing concerns at the council tomorrow, and don't take you over long. You have absolutely no difficulty putting this rune off of runestone into Trishik's hand wraps. It's your hand wraps, right?
Yeah.
In second edition now, I always forget because I still want to think Amulet of Mighty Fists. My brain still goes to Amulet of Mighty Fists because it was like 6 years of Amulet of Mighty Fists. And now it actually goes on your hands instead of just being a necklace
Well,
that makes you
technically-
punch more gooder.
It applies to all natural attacks because it just strikes with my body, but it is
Yeah.
hand wraps.
But I mean, it's a weapon that goes in your hands now instead
Yeah.
of a necklace that takes the place of your
Essentially-
Amulet of Protection.
Essentially, what she does is it's kind of like origami. She kind of just folds the wraps around the.
No,
Around
we
the
spot
rune?
weld the rune into the paper.
Trishik's got a big old welding mask on, and sparks flying. But long awaited The day finally comes for the monthly council meeting itself. You have been in Katapesh for, well, better part of the month of Erastus. And now, you are largely as ready as you are going to be to head into the guild hall and deal with things that are hopefully preordained to fall in your order. Or fall in your favor.
We're getting everybody those foam finger things that have the number one thing with Heroes of Breach Hill on it that all the crowd can hold up.
I was about to say, I'm handing those out.
So as you arrive at the stately hall where much of the city's operations are conducted, the main council building of the city of Katapesh, it's not a lively or terribly public affair. The Council of Guilds is open to those who have direct business or the masters of the various guilds themselves that are voting on various resolutions and assigning things for the next month of business within the city itself. Of course, there are some public that come to raise their various concerns, much as you are going to here. But by this point, your business within the Council of Guilds is no secret to anybody. I'm not just talking about those who are operating things from the guild itself, or the guilds themselves, but also just the general public. As you have gained enough sway throughout the various guilds of Katapesh for this to have just become street knowledge, the connection made between the heroes of Breach Hill, the legends of the gladiatorial arena, and the guys who want the Scarlet Triad to go away may not be made so firmly in the minds of the general public, but those who are here in any real official capacity are, by and large, completely aware of the business on order today.
Sign, Treagle's face, X through it.
But as you arrive, first there is a public section where any who wish to file measures or business for the day's agenda to be voted by the council before the Council of Guilds can petition their claims, fill out their own forms, make their desires heard, and it will be processed before the council convenes. Generally, only if those people have any real stature, if the business is considered to be exceptionally important, will the petitioner themselves be allowed within the actual hall proper. You, at this point, pretty soundly fall into that category. You are met at the door by a woman who has a veil cast down across her face, but one that is transparent. It's not hiding her in any way. It's white, mostly transparent. Mainly just there is a part of this very heavily jeweled headband that holds most of her hair back up and into a very high-set bun. Her hair black as much of the peoples from the city of Katapesh. They don't have a whole ton of variance within their hair colors. And her outfit, surprisingly kind of simple and mundane. Attire much more of her station than out of any. She's one of the few who has no particular direct need to display her wealth or her affluence or her stature to the city, as she is comfortable and confident in this role here, organizing the Council of Guilds. You know, there's a certain point where you're up there, you don't have to front it anymore.
Yeah.
But as you would come in, you would be introduced to her relatively quickly, and she'd put her hands together and bow her head. I have been long awaiting the storied heroes who have traveled to Katapesh, seemingly from rumors heard. Some say chasing the Triad throughout all corners of the Inner Sea, and some say being chased. I am Azalana Falcrest, and the Pact Broker that will be overseeing the council meetings this eve. You, of course, as she looks over to Marshall, have your own business here. I am made aware that you are the new guild master of the gladiatorial arena.
Aye.
You'll be speaking in their stead then?
Aye.
So, for presentation, each interested party, you now representing a guild, may bring one assistant speaker to you with the floor and any number of advisors should you wish to confer with them during the proceedings, but only 2 of you will speak in any official capacity.
Very well.
Of course, the fact that you happen to be a member of this same group here affords you, I suppose, a considerable amount of influence by our own rules, as you are more than welcome to attend Heroes of Breach Hill, if that is the title we will give you. That was the title, I suppose, you've given yourselves. Is this the name by which you wish to be addressed during today's proceedings?
Absolutely.
Oh,
I mean, it's kind of how it was written.
For the sake of,
Simplicity.
yes.
Also, I like not having our real names known.
Then you will be afforded the same courtesy. Though, of course, you will have no votes in the council. As your resolution is drawn to pass, you will be called upon to voice your concerns, state your claims, and defend them as necessary. Similarly, you will be allowed a pair of speakers and a number of advisors.
Is there any specific protocol we are to follow? We don't wish to be rude or violate any of your mores.
This is something the city of Katapesh and I, as its pact broker overseeing today's events, certainly appreciate. Now, things are precious simple here, fortunately. Your item on the agenda will come later in the day's proceedings, as we feel there will be much to be discussed. If you have nothing to contribute to the other matters on the agenda, you will be expected to wait.
Of course.
Simply do not interrupt and do not override any of the presiding council members or any other petitioners who have brought their business before the council this eve. Now, of course, Guildmaster Emberbeard, I believe it is. You will be representing the Gladiators Guild. Do you wish to bring a second speaker or any advisors with you?
Well, I would probably say yes. I'd probably bring, I forgot his name again.
Lifter?
No.
Lifter.
You know, the one that you can't remember his name.
It starts with A.
He is not here.
Oh, he's not here?
He would not attend.
Well, in that case,
This
guess...
is your fight. He doesn't care about this.
Huh?
Take Raz.
You think I should take Raz? Okay, Raz, you're up, buddy.
I can't fight it.
I just pick him up. He's gonna help speak with me.
I'm going to help speak with him.
Very well. Your name and title, then, for the record.
Raz.
Simply just Raz?
Just Raz.
Just Raz. It's very
Fair enough.
simple.
So then I assume the rest of you will be speaking for the heroes of Breach Hill. It matters not which two of you are the designated speakers. Just be aware that whichever two of you deign to take the floor and speak for your causes, we will expect the third not rise. But again, they are more than welcome in an advisory capacity. You'll have plenty of time to confer amongst yourselves. This is no rapid-fire debates. You will not be expected to stand and speak until you're prepared.
Sheeny, you and me?
Makes sense to me.
I do not believe lying will make a good impression.
Oh, Trishik, you're so sweet. You would never lie in public.
He lies a
But
lot.
I understand.
Anyway, I know I'm not the smartest tool in the shed, but I would definitely say I'd rather you two speak on our behalf.
I think that's wise.
Of course.
Anyway,
Okay.
Raz, I believe we have some business we have to go attend to.
It is unnecessary to declare formal roles beforehand. There is fortunately not that much rigor and bureaucracy around to this. The Council of Guilds largely presents itself as a discussion upon the various topics and motions. After discourse is completed and everyone feels their point has been made due, votes are called quite simply.
Does there food?
And she steps aside and motions to the door behind her. Please, welcomed guests of the city of Katapesh this eve. You will partake of our prior hors d'oeuvres and our drinks and our refreshments. There is some hour before the official proceedings begin. Help yourselves.
Well, in that case, while I'm, I guess, in the other room getting ready for the meeting for the other things, I guess just send me and Raz a plate for later.
I'm sorry, I gave the impression that you'll be heading to a different direction.
Yeah,
The representatives of the various guilds are within, and as your petition is highly regarded and seen to be expected to see much debate, you are welcomed in as well as petitioners.
Oh, of course.
My apologies.
That's
It's my
beforehand.
first time, so.
I'm eating canapes. I'm giving one to me,
So
one to Severin.
she motions to the door that leads deeper into the council hall, and you head in. It would be into the council chamber itself,
They're so good.
which is a fairly massive circular room, which is set with would look like near 24 stands in a circle around an upper rank of risen seats, proceeding down several tiers to a lowered circular stage in the center of the room, visible from all of these various stations. Of the 24 stations, the ones at the far end of the room, and then bleeding, of course, around a little bit towards the doors, the ones that are most presented towards the doorway as you approach, would each have massive cloths and banners presenting the insignias of the various guilds that retain each of them, with some of the additional stands left being for petitioners of the eve. She would direct you to a stand that was yours, that would be just a couple inside from the door on the tail end past the guilds. You would be sitting opposite the Guild of Street Sweepers and Dunkcarters on the end of the roster of influence here, where you would to raise your petitions. But before
How's it
that,
going? Oh, good to see you again.
Before that, you need not head immediately to your rest. Several of the two desks, rather, nearest the door that would just be right up this incline, as this actually lets in at the middle of this. It sinks down a bit to the stage and rises up behind you to these overhead desks where everyone's just kind of looking down at the middle. Surely an intimidating sight to be standing in the middle pleading your case. The two nearest the door are heaped with a variety of appetizers, simple dishes, hors d'oeuvres, as is a small round table that is currently laid out in the middle of the staging area. You are far from the first ones here, and there are many recognizable faces throughout the crowd. The representatives from each of the guilds are here to cast their various votes on the motions presented today. And many faces that you would recognize, of course, spread all throughout this crowd, mingling and discussing as they will. There are...
Treagle here?
Do you know what Treagle looks like?
No.
Is there anyone who looks like he's on the Triads camp and looks
Is there
really
is there
tired?
someone who's
You would
wearing a whole lot of
certainly,
Scarlet
you would
Triad?
certainly recognize Jellic Jasmine, their community front, their peer representative. He is certainly there.
Okay.
And he would be down there in the middle speaking with a couple of people you don't recognize. And again, since each of these guilds has a number of advisors and a second speaker, there would be a ton of faces that you do not recognize literally at all. As you make your way into the doorway, you would see in front of you, about head level for those of you of regular height, a huge ball of snakes. And turning around to see the group of you, Zader, who has also made her way down here. Given the circumstances of the past few days, I have had precious little time to prepare for this. I hope you have done better.
Oh, we're good.
You understand that the guildmaster of the Poisoners Guild does not typically deign to attend the council himself. But I will be one of these speakers in his stead.
Oh, how convenient.
Oh, you're quite well appointed in that guild, aren't you?
I am a pretty face that many, surprisingly, hang on the word of, and that has as much value as coin in many places in this city. Besides, many are loath to disagree with a woman whose hair could eat them.
It's okay.
But that hair's tried to beat me many times. It hasn't worked out for it.
Me also, but I suppose at this point I'm largely used to it.
My Heckle's shoulders raised. Rash is always on edge near her.
Well, it is good to know that we have another vote.
The Poison Makers Guild will certainly stand behind the motion of the day. I did not tell you in advance to hope perhaps that you would not count on our assistance. The more you think the numbers stacked against you, the more you would seek to counterweigh them. And a welcome advantage in the end, I am sure, regardless.
Oh, it's very nice to know that we have one more on the win side.
Then I simply hope you will accept my apologies for the various deceptions I have cast upon you in this past moon.
To be perfectly fair, it's not like you actually deceived us. You just didn't tell us anything.
Yeah, you never lied.
Omission is not lying.
It is very much so. An omission of truth, a kind of lie in and of itself, especially when the omission is so intentional.
Well, if you're determined to feel terrible about it, I suppose I have no choice but to let you.
Oh,
the
make no mistake, the shame I feel is infinitesimally small.
I mean,
That means really, really, really small.
But
to be
I-
honest, all that
Thank
really
you, Ross.
matters is that we both want to take all of the toilet paper in Katapesh and throw it all over the Red Pyramid. Isn't that really the only thing that matters?
Something the town's historians would frown upon, I am sure. It is a city monument, much akin to the Marble Sphinx, after all.
Raz, I just realized she said she actually felt remorse about lying to us and deceiving us. I think we're rubbing off on her.
No, she likes us very much. She already
said she
look at her.
felt
You
remorse.
think I an emotionless husk?
Of course not.
I would've
Look at
said-
Dingus.
You came off
I
so
would've said
cold when we first met you. It's so
cold-blooded
nice to see you
snake.
warming up to us a little bit.
It is almost a bit snake-like in behavior.
Trishik is just flirting with you.
I would find it perhaps ironic coming from the only other, I imagine, cold-blooded member of your party.
Last
I am not
checked.
terribly familiar with the Ruxy biology, unfortunately. There are surprisingly few
that was
of them
definitely
in
flirting.
Katapesh. But no, as I have not had much opportunity to apologize to the group of you, I have had even less so to thank you for your timely rescue in the warehouse.
I mean, it's not a problem. You've been helping us out for quite some time.
It was our pleasure.
Your assistance, as she looks at Roshin and Marshall both, was certainly thanked and appreciated, but were it not for Trishik's knowledge of alchemy and poisons, I fear I still would have perished on that warm floor.
I believe that these two would have at least been able to compensate.
I mean, I can only smack you so many times with my tater stick.
This
At the very
nightmare-
least, we wouldn't have left you there. If it makes you feel any better.
This nightmare salt is a potent venom, and one I will chastise myself forevermore for allowing myself to fall for, even knowing of its existence. Ishti forced my hand. I did not want to have to kick down a door, scimitar swinging, but knowing I possibly only had hours of my own mind left to me, I was left little choice.
Oh, so she got you before, and that's why you went there. Goodness gracious. Well, it actually worked out rather well for you in the end, all things considered in that case.
I'm telling you, Trishik, you guys are a match made in heaven.
Anyway,
I will not monopolize your times. If you wish to finalize alliances here, or perhaps make more at the final hour, it may be wise. I enjoy the delicious snacks the city of Katapesh has prepared for us.
You know, it occurs to me, if the Triad were totally desperate about preventing this vote from going down, poison in the hors d'oeuvres would be a fine way to do it.
Look, it's a crab cake, she says, shoving it in her mouth.
At this point, you hear a huge voice just kind of boom over your shoulders. Oh, this is them. I are the heroes of Breach Hill. It's this massive booming voice coming from about the level of Trishik here. You would turn around to see a man that's about matches you in stature. A huge grin on his face, who seems to be molded of stone and rock. But something not entirely unseen throughout the city of Katapesh, the face of a shaitan genie.
Wow.
His less hair and more near stalagmites, spikes of stone just radiating up all one direction from the top of his head. He is wearing what looks to almost be like ornamental ceremonial armor. A belt almost as gaudy and ridiculous as Marshall's, set with a few massive red gemstones and the gold and purple tapestries hanging down from it, not even reaching down to his knee, matching the colors of the single pauldron he bears, with what looks almost like a harness drawn around his body. The man is a towering eyesore, but very,
I mean, it's not nothing we're not used to already.
very visible here. And he has got a real big smile on his face as he come in. I was hoping to meet the group of you.
Oh, I'm afraid you have us at a disadvantage.
I apologize. Introductions are in order. My name's Eitrim of Os. I'm the concierge for the Aspis Consortium here in Katapesh, and I've heard much of your glorious deeds throughout the city. A shame of my life, perhaps, or at least these few years of it. I was unable to hear to witness the battle I've heard so much about in the Gladiators Guild this past Sunday.
I can show you.
Magic, I assume.
Yes, magic. I can recreate the whole fight. That's like literally 18 seconds.
Perhaps another time I would be beyond excited to accept such an offer. But, no, I'm simply here for introductions. The Aspis Consortium, I'm sure you're at least familiar. You've
Naturally.
come from your operations here in Katapesh from
We
those
can't-
abroad.
We can't travel a block without hearing of them.
And we're doing our business right, it seems. It's a truly massive undertaking, and one that I am honored to work as their contact for such a fine city as that of Katapesh. But running a business of such magnitude, it's a toll. Truth be told, I welcome these council meetings. A moment away from the books, the numbers, the bureaucracy, the constant dealings in business. To meet fellow life-minded folk and personages of yourself of great import within the city.
Oh, like-minded are we? Well, certainly it seems the case. We both seem to be interested in seeing the Apps' fortunes blossom, especially through the loss of a very important competitor.
And, well, I admit you now have me at the disadvantage here, but you're not wrong. There have been some difficulties in our operations of late. Truth be told, many of our contacts up across the northern banks of the inner sea have fallen upon some very difficult times, and it seems like near everyone in this city and abroad are suffering from all kinds of issues of supply and transportation. I've heard tales of all sorts of woes, from the pirates of the shackles to bandits run amok throughout the good plains of Taldor, where they still struggle for supremacy and trying to find a seat for their throne.
Should be good for business, though, shouldn't it?
You'd think, as long as it's not interfering directly. I tell you, one of my main suppliers of a lot of the metals and stone we have ported in, up from the Five Kings Mountains. I have them shipped in from a small dwarven town called Kovler. You heard of it?
Oh, yeah, we're familiar.
Believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
We're very worldly people, you see.
It's a terrible tragedy what happened there. You heard, I assume. If you have family or friends
Terrible.
there, perhaps.
Insurrections in the streets. Most terrible.
Insurrections? No, the invasion.
Oh, the invasion.
What invasion?
Some twice damned living their life under the mountain to hide from Seren Ray's light. The products of necromancy and ill witchcraft rose up, took the city walls by storm. It was a massacre.
The city walls by storm? Are you telling me they didn't turn those walls back on? After we told them that?
I mean, I'm pretty sure we did.
I am not terribly privy to the details of everything that happened. I've heard tales of some kind of magics one way or the other, but
Throw out ascending.
whatever had happened, they came marching at the walls with stories to be told, skeletons the size of dragons, smashing through the stone, and loss of life that day. It's terrible.
Please?
I'm not confident the city will recover, honestly.
I actually don't know something anymore.
You're an idiot.
Why am I an idiot? I have a better spell.
I tell you, what's interesting is the cause of this strife. I heard this was simply a tangent that had forked off the actions of a small group of activists that had wormed their way into the city, seeing fit to follow their whimsy through the streets to their own needs with no eyes for the consequence in the future.
Aye, the cult of Droskar is a terrible business. Caused no end of trouble while we were there. Thankfully it was able to be driven out, but it seems that the damage had been done.
You seem more familiar, perhaps, with the undertakings than I, but it seems a pity. The actions of so few can have such far-reaching consequences for so many.
I don't know. I've always found that to be rather comforting.
I'm telling you the tales of my own business woes, and I just came simply to greet you. I welcome you to the good city of Katapesh as friends.
Oh yes, of course. Friends.
He puts a giant hand down, balled up into a fist, kind of just in the midst of all of you.
Hey, we can all do that. Yeah, fist bump. Everyone fist bumps.
So on behalf of the Aspis Consortium and the city of Katapesh, don't hesitate to call upon us should you find any needs unmet within our walls. Well, I have business, of course, things to organize.
Yes, of course.
But apologies for not even making an introduction sooner.
Oh, and do consider the way that perhaps vote a little bit later in the rotation. See how things are going for you later on. You might see something interesting.
I've heard you lot have a very precise interest in today's docket.
Most
Motion
precise.
putting through yourself.
Not really. We're just here for the food.
Well, I'm curious to see how it falls.
Anyway.
He puts up a hand and turns and just sort of walks away back towards the...
All right, so first off, if they didn't
massive.
patch that wall, it is not our fault.
Well, on that note, Raz, I think you and I should mingle with my new fellow guild masters before the meeting.
Likely what happened is the Scarlet Triad helped again, and
How much time do we have before the actual
disabled the
proceedings?
We would have like half an hour to prepare.
I
an
think
hour.
it's less that than it is they're trying to spread rumors to make them look more effective
Resume.
than they are.
Let's I mean, we can do a quick check.
Okay.
Yeah, if we just come over here, sit down.
Okay.
I'm just gonna take Resume, let them mingle. I'm gonna cast Dream Council on me and Resume and some of the council members we know in Kevlar.
Okay, how many people can you put in that?
Up to
10?
12.
12, yeah.
12. Okay, so you can have like most of the council that you're allied with here. And is everyone
Ignoring
else,
the
as
carpenters.
you're tending to looking for whatever allies you can find, you cast out this dream council. They don't have to be asleep, right? They just accept it.
They get it,
on
yeah,
the
and then they
floor
can
and-
fall asleep. will they be?
You are receiving a collect call from Raz and Resme
Raz and
in
Resme.
Katapesh.
You
Do you
would
accept the charges? Your conscience.
you would get a few answers. Thunderflare, the head of the council, the Anvilers Guild, after some moments, would arrive, as well as the guild leader of the Guild of Spells, the Elder Dwarf, who was never really a huge fan of you guys, but kind of came around a little bit towards the end. He would join as well. The rest, nobody else would immediately respond to your call. But as Thunderflare joins and just kind of awakens in this void with you, you know, I had started to wonder if I was going to hear from the Guria again. But how it is, you just come, save your version of the day, and then head off. Never keep in contact with your old friends back in Kovler.
Oh, well, of course we'll keep in contact, but we've been very busy.
I jest. Of course. It's good to see your faces. Good to hear of you.
Are you okay?
She kind of gets grim, and this is the point where the Guild of Spells Master joins. You heard.
Yeah, what happened?
Truth be told, I don't know. I could give you an accurate accounting if I wanted to, but I'm not speaking to you from Kovler anymore, not at the moment. And the Guild of Spells, the Elder Dwarf. It's perhaps the fault lays with me. Truth be told, if they were able to overcome the enchantment to the Wall of the Ancients, that was a fault to the Guild of Spells at some level. But, Forge Master Thunderflare speaks true. Not terribly long after he had left us, perhaps some 15 Forge days, less maybe even, Sagarok rose up near as one. As far as we can tell, spearheaded by the Starved. They overran the walls. Their gush of Dokoro were a strength we hadn't anticipated. We were able to batter them through and lay waste to much of the city, before we could reclaim what little we could. But with the wall breached, it's far from safe there now.
My God.
And Thunderflare's kind of nods. Well, I'd hoped you'd been contacting us for, truth be told, quite literally anything other than that.
I mean,
But, no.
What of the survivors? How massive toll civilians?
Well, thanks to the
council
Guild
members?
of Arms, the evacuation went a lot better than it could have been, I suppose. At least the roads were secure, and there's several routes out to Kovler to the south and west. But it wasn't long before a full retreat was called. I mean, grace of Toreg, things could have turned out much worse. I'd say damn near half the city still draws breath.
thank God. I mean, the loss of life is horrendous, but where are you now?
We've moved down the road a ways. Those of us who have settled there, well, refugees and the other dwarven cities that take us to this point largely. Suppose I'm not much of a forge master anymore then, but still working as I can. The main contact, most of us, main contact I have with the city. It's, well, it's Torag's will. It's all the gods together. No, I couldn't tell you why, but just kind of shrugs. It's past now, and I've been putting on as brave a face I can for those we have left. Look, if you called me out of some sense of guilt when you heard this, perhaps, this, I'm sure, isn't your fault.
No.
If anything, you staved the Starve off longer than I could have imagined. They were clearly a much bigger threat than we'd anticipated, much more organized than we thought, and if not for your intervention, perhaps they would have struck even sooner, and with us less prepared. With the cult of Droskar working their ways. And as she says that again, the Elder Guildmaster just sort of winces, balls his fists up.
Raz and I were calling to check up on you. We were very worried, but once we're done here, if you want help taking back what's yours, you'll have it.
Not that I deny it after everything I've seen you lot do. I'm sure you're more than capable, but again, time marches ever onward, and it's not the first mountain that's collapsed. Truth be told, Kovdar should have fallen some thousands of years ago with the rest of Sagarok. We just overstayed our welcome.
Well,
Well, that means you have nothing to hold on to from the past. You get a whole new future with nothing left.
A blank slate full of oily bedrolls and tents pitched in tunnelways, living our new lives as refugees on the road.
Well,
you don't have to be refugees. If you did want a home, you could come stay with us in Breach Hill.
Aye, lass, I'm not looking to leave the people at Kovdar behind after everything that's happened.
I mean, they could come too.
You're not seriously offering to house half of the city.
Well, we would
Even
have to
if you
build
were.
out Breach Hill a bit, but yeah.
Even if you were. While your offer comes from a good place and a clean heart, I can't expect half of my men and women to take it. Living up on the surface, can you imagine? 2/3 of my people ain't never seen the sun before. And I haven't since I was a wee lass.
got a point.
I mean, I guess we could create underground Breach
Nah,
Hill.
they'll be fine. Dwarves are hardy, sturdy,
You've
stubborn.
done more for the city of Kovdar and her people
You could literally breach the hill.
than Torag could ever ask of anyone. Okay, I appreciate you checking up on us, but we'll make do as we always have.
Well, we'll be back in touch soon. We can talk about it again then. But we have something we have to do today. But in the meanwhile, please take care.
On today's agenda, we're taking down the Scarlet Triad.
Well, have fun saving another city. Which it sort of sounds like it's just what you do on a more or less a weekly basis.
There's no end to them, it seems.
There's a lot of cities.
Sorry.
Roshin has that tickle.
Thunderflares kind of smiles and nods, and sort of closes her eyes and wakes herself up out of the call. And the guildmaster of the Guild of Spells, whose names I definitely didn't forget and definitely isn't on my NPC sheet anymore because I think it come up again. If that's what you're implying.
Good job. did
He's
it.
the guy
As he
who didn't
thumbs-
give me personal rank class.
It's on
That
the
was what he
paper
will
under
always
this
be for
paper,
me.
and I have to move so much crap to get to that, and I don't care that much.
Yeah, no.
So many pages.
But it seems perhaps that Yitram speaks truth.
Youch.
What a shame we sided with the starved and then they had more forces.
Sumer, Archmage Sumer.
Sumer, that was it.
Good job, notes.
Malik Sumer.
Well,
It's
Meanwhile,
almost like our choices have consequences.
Marshall has been looking around to realize that this council is convening here. The Gladiators Guild doesn't really have any particular vested interest in the politics of the city or much that's going on, and they weren't really, say, like, underselling it or playing face. It is just you. They have offered you to come and make your stand, and whether it's because of their desire to stay as attached as possible or because they just don't really care, they have no other of the officials of the Gladiators Guild are actually here.
Wow. Well, okay then, I guess, I'll just grab some snacks before the meeting and just wait till we start.
I get the feeling the Gladiators Guild just doesn't show up to a lot of these.
They probably don't, realistically. And most
I mean,
of the
with
council
Sandy
of-
Claus being the previous master, I'm not surprised.
most of the council of guilds that are held, not all of the guilds are in attendance because there's, well, again, your month-to-month basis, and usually not some massive venture that needs weighing in on or something. It's just there's nothing on the docket that's relevant to like the farmers or the street sweepers who also don't show up terribly often. But this month in particular, there's some word going around. There's maybe some things that are changing that people might want to have a little bit of say in one way or the other. So is there
Yeah.
anything else as you make your way through that you want? Anyone else you want to seek? Anything else you want to accomplish other than availing yourselves of delicious snacks here?
Nah, I think we're solid.
Yeah.
We're
we
good.
can't make a final sway on anyone, can we?
You get time to talk to people, but seeing as
Yeah,
the only guilds left that you haven't swayed, you've literally never contacted before. Probably not.
I guess
2 nat 20s away from swaying opinions.
I guess one thing actually that Roshin wouldn't mind doing is I'll just walk around and just be visible. Like everyone knows that this is coming up and like, yeah, no, actually this is actually going down.
She
We're all
polished her armor
here.
for the day.
Like, yeah, polished.
Just polish the armor.
Yeah, that's it. I'll have Raz doing that.
And as you're walking around being exceptionally visible, you see a blue hand kind of flag you down. from one of the desks up on high as Ice Killer from the Jewel Masters Guild would stand up from behind it and just sort of motion you, point at you, and just do one of these circle with her finger gestures and motion you up to her to the Jewelers Guild stand.
I'll wave back up at her and head on up. Oh, Guildmaster, you're looking lovely and free today.
And this would be one of the times that you have certainly seen her actually dressed up for the occasion. She has a circlet kind of perched up above her very fin-like ears here, and a very interesting design of a sarl she has drawn around. It's a lot of turquoise and sky blues. She seems to, in these meetings such as this, play very hard into her heritage here.
Nice.
A lot of sort of ocean colors on this sash that's drawn around her. And her feet just graced with sandals like you would just wear down to a beach. Fine ones. But she nods as you approach. Hi, indeed. It's a fine day to see the end of the goddamn Scarlet Triad, hopefully.
Amen.
Couldn't say more.
Assuming that you have, well, had as much success as I hope you have in the ensuing weeks.
Oh, yes, indeed we have. Quite a number of like-minded individuals have come around to us, and in fact, in the case of the Gladiators Guild, we have one of our own there.
So I had heard, but was remiss to believe
Waves
that
as he shoves more cake, like crab cakes, into his mouth.
you have, in a few short weeks here, not only swung the hearts of what seem to be damn near every guild in the city of Katapesh, you have somehow taken control of one of them directly. Is this your normal modus operandi? You go into a city and just assume direct control of all of its normal operations?
It's actually a rather terrifying thought, but no, actually, we've actually never been quite so direct this time.
That's actually really not true.
We've actually been to Kintargo, where it was mostly a shadow war. We really didn't get involved with the government at all there.
Actually, that's
And
not
then we
true.
went
I
to-
got to barony out of it, and then we took
guess
control
you're
of that
with me.
little town, and then we also
I
kind
guess
of
resume came up too.
I guess Resme came up too.
Or
and then
just
the-
woke up and immediately went to Roshi.
and then there was Mwangi, where we kind of mostly
Politics.
took over there.
Don't be going making up stories about Mwangi again.
The group of you are like a damn fungus. You just take root everything, and wherever it is you go, and just overrun everything and smother out the local life.
Yeah,
in this
so-
situation, the local life is the Scarlet Triad, so I'm more than for it.
To be true,
But-
that's the local life has been the Scarlet Triad wherever we've been going.
No, well, that's a fine fungus
like to
that feeds
think-
upon an illness such as themselves.
Yeah, so
I think
fungus.
Scarlet Triad is the fungus, and
I guess
we're the
Raz is
fungus
here, too.
It's
side.
there too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if she woke up, Raz is gonna walk over too.
Like Muppets.
Just popping up behind the other side of the desk to play on the conversation here. So, well, I suppose there's not much more to be done than wait then. We have a bunch of pointless meandering garbage that has been put on today's agenda, and I'm certain that Treagle himself has had some hand in burying the main course to the very bottom. Or maybe they just simply wanted to leave sufficient time for discussion and ensure that nothing else be pushed off. Have you spoken with him? Just out of morbid curiosity, really.
I don't even know what he looks like.
Yeah, actually, I've
Just
never
kind
laid
of
eyes
point
on him.
down. With how colorful most of the regalia of Katapesh is, it's not actually super easy to pick out just a dude wearing red. And he's somewhat unremarkable. He's not Roshin. He's not walking around with a tabard with the Scarlet Triad insignia on the front of it.
I'm honestly surprised he's not.
He is a man who is dressed somewhat plainly, as she points down to him, wearing a breastplate that is painted fairly bright red. The edging of all the pauldrons
Manacles.
embossed with some fine gold.
Wait,
He looks like an Oblivion
wait.
guard. You're about
wait.
to say something he
Treagle-
doesn't like to.
He does look really disgusted. It just the situation is hard.
Did that guy take an arrow in the knee at
Just
some point?
disgust him with your very presence. He's got a fairly bright, straight blonde hair, and it's about neck length. He lets just kind of fall down around the sides and back of his head, and the bangs at the front near equally as long, draped across to one side. The crimson headband just kind of barely visible in the gap below.
He's a Chad.
And he does kind of look a little bit like a Chad too. He's got this
little bit of a Chad, yeah.
pointed blonde matching goatee.
He has a big
And his
chin.
name is
Chin, and he
Etrus,
just-
right?
Etrix.
Etrix.
And he just looks freaking disgusted. But he's all the way down on the bottom on the ground floor, kind of
Kneel
the
down
back
and that's
side.
the look
There's-
you
Yeah. Hey, Etrix!
Oh, I love his art so much.
It's so awful. But he hates that he's here.
We hate
And
that he's here
you're
too.
here. But
Wave at him.
But Ice Killer just kind of motions. Yep, it'll be him. I suppose it might possibly be wiser to save the rubbing his face in it, so to speak, until
Oh, I'm
after
just
we have
saying
certainly
hi.
won the day.
Oh, don't worry. We'll go pay him a visit at the pyramid.
That's what you truly mean to do, is it? Rescind the Pactmasters' protections and storm the castle.
Well,
That's
it's
straightforward.
It's so rare actually that we've actually had to be quite so out in the open about it. Normally we just get right to storming the castle, and the Triad are nice and below board, as it were. So there's never any of an official uproar as it is. Really, this is just a great deal of trouble and nonsense.
I wanted to cover the whole building with toilet paper, but they won't let me.
Well, yeah, it's a national landmark.
Well, I would not count the day one quite yet. I would be surprised if Treagle can drive with some kind of ace up his sleeve here. What it is or how he intends to play it remains to be seen. But I know that even he is not quite enough a fool to open any kind of direct hostilities here inside the Council of Guilds and with Pactmaster in attendance.
I should hope he does. Then we'd have an excuse to just kill him outright.
Wow.
I would be more concerned about your dwarven friend down there, having much of a like mind. If anyone were to draw arms or bear weapons here on the council floor, well, our cause is more than doomed, I'm afraid to say.
Oh, don't worry. Marshall won't be drawing anything.
I just want to make sure you understand that raising weapons here is to raise them against the Pactmasters directly.
Don't worry.
Raz, could you do me a favor? When you're down there advising him, please go ahead and just try to make sure he keeps his head at least a little bit.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
you teleported next to me. Now I can tell you to do things.
Oh,
Turns out we're
Got
just
that
napping
slumber
behind her.
well, it's a pleasure to know that I suppose we have the
Give it to Raz in case he needs it.
Guildmaster of the Gladiators Guild directly among our number, then. So that's what? Us? Well, you know I'll get vote that way.
Look, there's 10. 10 or 11 as far as I can tell that we have.
We need to.
Oh, let me check. We have on our side
10 or 11 is...
the Carpenters Guild, the Flesh Union, the Farmers Union, the Order of the Anvil, the Guild of the Bakers and Butchers, the Order of the Alchemists, the Guild of the Gladiators, the Barristers League, the Jewelers Guild, of course, and of course, the Guild of the Street Sweepers.
Did you say the did you get the farmers and the carpenters?
I did indeed, yes.
Oh, good.
Well, that's promising. As that
Oh,
would
and
be
the
enough-
poisoners.
That would be enough to send a vote, but if only just. To formally censure one of the acting guilds of the council is going to require a 2/3 majority of the 15 members.
We have everybody but the Aspis Consortium and the Breeders.
And the Aspis Consortium may very well decide to go see which way the wind is blowing and knock down their competitor a bit.
I'd perhaps be a little bit more concerned about their presence. I take it you haven't interacted with them very much, if that's your stance.
Just briefly.
They're far from competitors. The Aspis Consortium here in Katapesh may very well be one of the Triad's closest allies.
Oh dear.
They enable each other, and a great mountain of platinum pieces rolling both ways thanks to their continued partnership. I dare say the Aspis Consortium is probably the last ones here who would like to see the Triad censured.
They only have one vote, don't they?
No guild has any more than any other. That said, they have considerable influence not just in the city, but, well, as far as I understand it, the NSCs at large.
We don't
Well-
care about their influence elsewhere.
Well, we'll have to just see which way the wind is blowing.
So I'm gonna pop up too. Rez, I was told to give you this.
There's not even.
Yeah. Well, you guys are up on that.
He's just like
table.
2 ranks down.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like
Just
me when I'm
like
talking to people.
Brontosaurus at the window.
I was informed to give you this in case you need it.
What the hell? How?
He had a bit of a growth spurt.
Don't worry about it.
See, that was my reaction too, and they tried to make it seem like it was unreasonable.
Look, he
You
was
see
tall
him-
when last I met him, but he wasn't 2 stories.
He's only one.
He's mostly longer.
It's like someone let a damn dinosaur into the council chambers.
Well, he is.
They did.
What is this?
How are you even going to sit behind a
It's
desk?
fine.
You're going to look ridiculous.
Is what?
I'm not going to be actively participating.
He'll just be clinging to the ceiling the entire time.
Then that's going to look less so.
Oh no, they won't notice him.
It's in case Marshall...
Do the trick.
Just
Do the
gonna-
trick.
Just gonna crouch. I hand off the slumber wine and just.
You do that thing where you're just like walking down the stairs behind the desk
When
and
you
he's
look
just
over,
gone.
I'm just not there.
How?
I don't
By
understand
all
it
the
right myself.
gods,
That's the more surprising thing.
the thing's got to weigh 900 pounds. It can't just disappear.
It's not a thing. It's Trishik.
I'm sorry, but it looks like a damn animal at this point. You understand?
So does Marshall, and we don't say that to him.
And so
I do.
I think.
I'm just gonna be
Oh.
clinging on the wall behind her.
Oh, that,
Just,
that is
just
in
right there
case
looking down.
Marshall decides he wants to get violent.
Okay.
Are
So
you seriously going to try it and actually drug Marshall? You have
In-
any idea how ineffective that's going to be?
Do you...
very Proceeding.
He
Well,
drank that one
important.
time because he thought it tasted good.
I'm just saying,
Important.
it's in case...
Important.
So
Cover
from
has
behind
fallen.
Ice Killer, I'm gonna say, you know, it takes about an
God.
hour to do
God.
anything, right?
We're not telling Marshall that right now.
No, we're not. That's why
It's like
we're
a damn
up here with
spider.
Rasheen. Cover's fallen.
Gone again.
Look, how did they not patch the walls?
Shh.
Guys, we're going in soon. We're not talking about this right now.
You just brought it up. You can't bring something up and then yell at me for saying something.
At this, Azalana would raise one hand, and your own voices would fall silent here, as your mouths would still be moving, but near no sound
Silence, peasants.
would emerge from them. As it's almost, you can barely just hear a muffled and muted version of your own voice in your own head. But a smile on her face, she turns the hand back around. Gentlemen and women, if you would please arrange yourselves at your ordained stations.
Marshall
Council
motions
of
to Rez.
the Council of Guilds for this Erastus, year 4720, set to convene. I'll present the first item on the agenda in 3 minutes to be discussed and voted by the floor. Thank you. And at that, the sound would renew back in the room, but you wouldn't immediately notice because nobody's still talking. You would just immediately hear the kind of shifting and like jingling of metal and jewelry and armor around as some discourse, much quieter than before, would start to run its way through the room as everyone started to make their way to their various stations.
What's the state of the place? What's the state of the people? How many did they get out?
Half.
Not
Yeah.
terrible for a siege, but
The star rose up and took it all. Walls fell.
they kept them at bay. You're telling me that it was that rotting corpse Maliwan was the only thing keeping Cobbler in place? He was doomed to start with. His guard got gutted by the Triad.
Well, I'm worried that they might try to use that against us.
Oh, what? This here?
Yeah, you never know with them.
It's
Just
a
keep that in
rumor.
mind. It is-
Perhaps.
It's
I
a
mean-
rumor that can be weaponized against us, but keep that in
Certainly
mind.
We can't. Our defense is simple. We can't be held responsible for the political effects of a city that far away, especially after we've left.
Also, we'll have to see how they pitch it.
For what
Anyways.
it is worth, everything the man from the Aspis Consortium said was about us. The bandits, the roving marauders, and everything in Kovlar was about us.
Well, yeah. I caught that much.
Wait. What bandits and roving marauders?
Shh, it's okay, Roisin. Hush. It's gonna be fine.
No, you can't just make
Yes,
things
I
up.
can.
Anyways, Roshin told me to make sure you promise do not get angry and do not pull weapons. Pulling weapons here would be pulling weapons against the city.
Oh,
I trust you.
fine. I'll
Yes.
behave.
As several stewards have come forth to lift the round table with whatever hors d'oeuvres and accoutrement it has left,
Before they walk away, I'm like, hold on. Oh, okay. now
carry
you
it
can go.
back out the opposite direction from where you'd entered through a much larger, flatter but wider loading door, leaving the floor clear. You see a figure has appeared on the floor here. One that is very different and one that looks somehow manages to stand out amongst the guild masters and their various retainers in the city of Katapesh. He stands quite tall, maybe 7 feet. Not massive, not the size of a genie, but their frame is incredibly thin, lending them to look almost like a rod or a bird perched up, a vision that is accompanied by the strange mask that the thing wears. A triangular, almost beak-like hooded mask that obscures 100% of the visible part of their body. This figure has absolutely no discernible features whatsoever. The massive cloak they have drawn around their shoulders even conceals the entirety of their arms and legs, leaving nothing but this tall, wire-thin frame that makes its way up the stairs at the opposite end of the chamber, above the doors from which you had first entered, to a desk that has no heraldry, no iconography, where it takes its place, simply kind of standing above it. And as they get up to a higher level of the angle here, you can see this mask extends up above behind them. This triangular beak at the bottom almost matched by a curving hook-like extension at the top of it. Their robes are relatively plain of kind of muted greens and reds, at least for the city of Katapesh, with a simple golden shawl drawn about their shoulders. Nothing visible but these two crafted eye holes set into the front of the mask. And they're less holes. They are set with white orbs that must be visible through, unless this mask is somehow this thing's face. As it takes its position. Once again, you see Azalana stride out to the center of the floor, coming back from where the table had been taken. And she looks up towards this figure at the southern end of the room. And the figure is just looking right down at her. Simply nods once. And then she turns back around to address all of the guilds present. Welcome once more. The Council of Guilds for this month, Erastus, near 4720. Taking place for the record on this 23rd of the month. Our usual oath day. Our agenda contains many items today, one of which we anticipate to be a source of some lively debate. So we will wish to move through much of our checklist, perhaps with a fair bit more haste than is usual. Now, the first item on our agenda for this month involves the continuation of the tariffs on grain shipped from the southern ports of Taldor. And as she's reading off some stuff that none of you could consider ever caring about, some presentations are made, some rebuttals are had, and you can kind of see generally how this flows. When an item is brought up, first to speak is not the petitioner themselves or those who have put it forth, as its existence on the agenda already kind of serves to that. First would be the directly affected parties, or if this is like this taxation thing is not directly against anybody, it is the farmers union, the one that will be affected the most by these imports. Those who would have a strong dissent or feel they would stand as the opposition take the stage first. On one occasion, nobody speaks against the proposition. There is nobody who feels slighted enough or stands in any way opposed, and the motion proceeds directly to voting. Most of the motions they are attempting to pass here require a simple majority of those present. Of the 15 guilds who have their votes, 8 of them must agree to pass through a new motion, or to sustain an existing one, like these Taldan tariffs. And this continues on for some time. You've never been to one of these before. You're not sure how much business this city usually sees, but some of these seem absolutely pointless, if not outright superfluous to the general agenda.
The number one job of any good governmental organization is justifying its own existence.
Arthur's trying his hardest not to fall asleep.
And justifying their existence, they are sure doing.
I'm paying attention to the structure by which they give their arguments and some of the words they use and the ways they argue and what seems convincing. I'm watching the facial expressions of a lot of them to see if I can pick up on anything that might help when we make our arguments.
Okay. You can see it's very procedural, but somehow it's not as rigid as you might expect it to be. This initial, if there's no directly cited party, these initial statements are made by whoever rises to take the floor. There is no direct order of engagement or order of debate here. And most of the time, they don't bother moving down to the floor. They simply speak from their desk. It is quite a few steps down there and back, and you get the feeling that it's more just out of a sense of why bother? Mm-hmm. And this room is much ceremonial, perhaps, as it is actually practical. Only on one occasion does a petitioner, one of the members of the public, an owner of a stone quarry deeper within the desert, a sandstone quarry, and a shipping company that moves it through Katapesh and into the outlying nations much north of Assyrian, feels strongly enough about his case to stride to the floor himself and plead with the guilds present, all but ensuring that his motion will be able to pass, as it seems to offend none of the guilds present, really. What's interesting to you is that a lot of the business is not relevant to, like, these guilds. It is the ruling council of Katapesh. You have, like, the street sweepers and dung carters. Like, they don't care what the tax is on grain imports from southern Taldor. They don't care about Zemar embargoes.
An oligarchy is an oligarchy.
Yep.
They gotta have votes.
And a lot of these actions, a lot of these motions pass with only 1 or 2 votes. And near literally everybody else simply abstaining.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, one vote.
One vote when like
against
nobody else
is
is gonna vote
majority.
no. So yeah, like and then they pass. So like there's a lot of them going through by just vast majority abstaining.
Got it.
That said, all the groups here seem to be fully cognizant of the power that they wield, and the slightest reason that this might influence their business. Obviously, the farmers are directly impacted by this grain tariff, but the Guild of Bakers and Butchers steps forward because that's their supply chain. The Aspis Consortium has words for that because that interferes with a lot of their business that they're exporting from Katapesh further throughout the nation. Even the Order of Alchemists and Potion Makers has words on that because they think that a difference in the supply chain coming through of this Talden grain is going to affect the sales of some particular potions. So, at any opportunity that any of these people see that this is going to have a 1% impact on their business,
They're gonna say something.
they are
They're
quick to
speaking
voice
up.
their word.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Notably, the Aspis Consortium weighs in on every single motion. They are frequently the one vote for or against, with 14 abstains, that puts in or shoots down a lot of proposals. Several times you see whatever the Aspis Consortium votes and have made their opinion heard. Much of the rest of the guilds just seem to fall in line or simply abstain. Rarely do they bother to speak for their cause outside of direct tariffs and taxes, but they are quick to put their votes forward first and set the tone for the ensuing vote.
So we might wanna make sure the Aspis Consortium doesn't speak first.
Don't know that we can stop them, but what we can do is we can actually show our hand. We show our strength first.
Yeah.
The Jewelers Guild and then the Farmers Guild vote directly after them. That's going to be how we do it.
And there is no order to the vote either. Similar to the speaking, people who feel to vote will step forward, vote their yes or their no. If there is a lull for a few seconds, as Alana will ask if there are any further who wish to weigh their opinion. If no, everybody else is considered abstain. They don't have to go around the circle and individually abstain. They
Okay.
just simply don't engage.
Procedural rules is built to allow the counselors to be as lazy as possible.
So it seems. They have engineered this to have to do as little work as they need to run their city.
Shouting's hard.
And in fact, many of the guilds and a couple of the guilds literally do not participate at any point in the hours before they get to your resolution. You are sat behind this desk for a full hour, watching tariffs and trade negotiations and minor resolutions and minor censures and bans and unbans and sustainments go through and pass
Nerfs
through.
and buffs.
You doing okay there, buddy? You awake? And pinches Marshall every now and then, just wakes him up.
Sorry.
A second hour passes of just mundane business as usual. And maybe a society check. Resme, I think, is the only person who has half decent society. You have pretty decent
I'm master in
society.
He's
society.
master.
Oh, you roll me society. Right, you're
I'm trained.
You're charisma, dude. Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If he rolls like poop, I'll have you roll.
I want to roll over there and.
It doesn't matter.
What are you gonna do about
That's a
that?
dose.
That's a 2.
You know
What'd
what?
you get there?
I got a. I got a 14.
I want to throw that because I am a master in society. Braz is
I
trained in
rolled a-
something.
I rolled a hard 1. I got a 14.
That's
or 15.
I hate this die. That's a 7.
That is a total of a 36.
36 is 17th level DC. But you don't need quite that. You would pretty easily be able to tell that this is not traditional. You can see in the faces of a lot of the other guild masters, it's not just Marshall who's literally passed out in his chariot next to you. You can see several guild advisors literally look like they're asleep behind their desks. This, as far as you can tell, very clearly has been artificially extended to waste as much time as physically possible before your resolution.
Just as an aside, go tell them that stay awake, stay sharp, and you're just gonna have a little rat scamper up to you. Hey, just so you know, you need to stay awake, stay sharp. This is just them dragging it out.
Trying to wear you down with bureaucracy.
As if that's gonna work. We have nothing better to do.
Yeah, Resnate's having a ball, actually. I don't know what you're talking
Well,
about.
it's not going to wear
Across the room.
It's not going to wear us down, but it might wear down our allies. We might actually want to go and see if there might be something that we can do to kind of keep them focused or keep them entertained here.
I'll send my animal messenger for my ring out to kind of pounce around.
And you would not be alone. There would be, you are not taped to your seats here. There would be plenty throughout the area, various pages and scribes, and in fact, other similar like animal messengers and familiars constantly flitting their way about the chamber. So a rat just kind of running around behind all the chairs sending a message, it's not super out of the ordinary. There is constant messages being sent.
So
High school.
Severin,
This is literally just high school, except for the animal familiars.
so Severin, Mataz, and my animal messenger will be
Magical girl high
constantly
school.
going around, like kind of trying to like poke people who are falling asleep.
Ice Killer at some point catches your gaze and just makes a motion.
Look for ice killers.
It's very confusing. I don't know what that is.
You owe me the Thuvian
What
star back.
happened to your always do
I don't own it.
What?
What happened to your always do rock?
I'm not me. I'm Ice Killer. It's called role playing. Like,
It's all role playing, sweetie. Look it up.
but finally,
I mean,
That's
this
what
does
Raz is
win.
doing the entire time, making eye
100%
contact
of
with
the
people, just-
time.
finally, a little after 2 hours into the official proceedings, Azalana comes forth again with her paper with her stack here to present the next order for business, and announces to the chamber. Our final order of business for the Council of Guilds. A concerned public party has put forth a request for the direct censure of the Scarlet Triad and their operations within the city of Katapesh, including rescinding of the Pactmasters' official blessing and protection upon their business within the city and the nation at large. Now, of course, and just kind of shakes her head and just sort of motions up to, it would not be the table at the top center, that's the Aspis Consortium, but it'd be right next to it, where you see Hedrick Striegel and Angelic both sat back there. And Striegel would nod and just kind of stand up from behind his desk. And just sort of kind of give a half smile and shrug to the room.
Smiles in a really weird direction.
Disgust. The smile of disgust. Well, good fellow leaders of this city, those of you who have known me for any amount of time have heard me address you, and events before this one would know that if I claim many gifts in this life, that of public speaking and presentation is far from them. I could stride down to this floor and make a fool of myself for 5 minutes before a lot of you, defending myself from accusations coming from a position I can't claim to understand. But I won't waste your time or ours. I would rather, of course, have one speak for me. One more well-spoken and one more acclimated to such situations. So, please. And he kind of motions down to the floor to Azalana and looks towards the door where the table had gone and where Azalana comes from in the first place.
We brought
And-
an actual lawyer straight from hell to argue this for us.
A pit fiend walks out.
Banished.
No. What now, idiot? No. She turns to the doorway, and then again looks up to the weird figure up above the entryway, who nods and makes a brief motion with his hand, and turns back to the doorway and repeats this same motion. The door opens, and a woman comes out with bright blonde hair and a very vivid green dress lined the teal blue. And she slowly, hands folded, head down, walks to her place in the center of the chamber, in the middle of this stage. and just sort of looks up, turning around to face most of the council guilds, looking across the faces of the desks, and to Rez. And Miravel sighs. If I may begin briefly with a few stanzas from Katapesh's very own national anthem. I
You may need to collective transposition her away if things go bad.
believe them to be relevant here, given the proceedings. She clears her throat and just kind of closes her eyes. Come, sail all, partake of our sweet nectar. Come, sail all, no man need fear refused. Shared blood and sweat twixt all the sands, cast gladly in sacrifice. We mighty men of Katapesh, sown seeds of paradise. These words were my experience when first I graced your city some weeks ago, and from what I've heard, much the same of Lord Retrieval and the Scarlet Triad when they arrived here some years ago. They were travelers, foreigners from abroad who have come from far west, outside even the reaches of the inner seas, but they were welcomed as any other would be, offered that same gift those original founders of this great nation had, to build up creation of your own, to cast these deserts in your image and create your own paradise from these arid sands, no matter from whence you hail, no matter your past. He had help, of course. Whether or not the tale of Trigal arriving at the city's ports and immediately selling the ship he sailed in on to lease land to start to attempt to build this Scarlet Triad, true or no, many of you here now had your hands in the beginning of his operations. The city was welcoming, helpful, and looked not at us as outsiders. Even with his foreign face, much seemed quite queer to them. He made many promises and took much personal assistance from the guilds to get to where he is today. And he swore he would give back to those who granted him succor in those times. And the past years has committed himself to that course. I could list and number, and I considered it. The many charity drives for the veterans and orphans of this city, the welfare initiatives the Triad has spearheaded. But I fear it would serve no direct purpose in this forum. But I mention it only briefly to explain how dedicated the Scarlet Triad and Etrix has come to this city, has come to call home, as have I. I am much newer to these walls than near anyone here, I'm aware. Even in this short time, I've seen the good that Etrix, I should look straight up at him, and the Triad have done for all of you. The Red Pyramid he's taken is no office building. There's no simple area for business and trade deals. It's open to all. A museum teaching the history of this nation, dating back even before this city, to any men, women, or children who'd come to learn. Its door is open to any of you who had grievances or grudges against the company and wish to speak with us. But, as I am aware, none but Guildmaster Lali Khalid of the Farmers has come to speak with us of any concerns they had in the past weeks or even moons. And the heads of our mercenary companies and our liaisons have been working tirelessly, day and night, to find inns to their woes traveling the northern reaches of these arid sands, dangerous as they may be. We have made deals. We have done what we can to aid them in this difficult time, to work with their diminished resources. Neither Etrix nor I know why this item has been brought to the docket this day. It is only our hope that we can seek to dispel any rumors, misunderstandings, or whatever has led to us being forced to defend ourselves here today. Etrix fears there is some organized campaign of subterfuge, as she looks directly over at Rez at the Gladiators Guild. It seeks to undermine our city and those who would see it rise to greater heights. And just kind of looks down at her after that. We hope it is something simpler. That before we leave today, we can remember who we are and work to move forward again together as the city of Katapesh. And she moves to ascend the steps towards the Scarlet Triad disc.
After his speech, Marshall gently places a hand on Raz's shoulder. Now listen, lad. I know it's your thoughts on everything, but try not to get emotional in this.
Sounds like it's our cue.
As you're doing that and you're discussing, as Miravel has taken like 2 steps, Ice Killer slams her hand on the desk and just kind of stands up. All right, I had enough of this. So,
I was wondering.
I love her.
That's like something I would do.
The more and more she acts, the more and more I love this NPC.
I love her.
and she walks out
Fantastic.
around the desk and goes to start walking down the steps towards the central floor here. Ridiculous, patently. Look, the Triad can bring some pretty face in here, and Etrix can put her forward to face the brunt of our adversity, hiding behind her like a shield, trying to pretend everything the Triad's doing for us has been good. We all know it's not. There's nobody here who's under any disillusions at this point, I imagine, of what the Triad's been doing, of their near direct extortion of the Farmers Guild, their protection money that Guildmaster Khalid is forced to pay to even be able to run her routes. And I imagine many of you have felt much the same. And she kind of looks, and you see her like fists are balled up. Ice Killer's pissed. Many of you may have heard of my brief and abrupt disappearance some weeks ago for a few days. Traveled out to a journey abroad, worked some business, and while I was out, made some family I haven't seen in quite some time. It's not often I get to go further up the coast. What did I find on my journey back? But bandits waiting on either side of the pass, weapons brandished, bearing the insignias of the Scarlet Triad, taking me and mine into custody, where they hauled us into this damn city to sell us off as cattle within the very walls. Does that not offend your senses? Does that not offend your business? She gestures up at the knoll sitting behind the desk of the Fleshmongers Federation.
Man, she's doing all this hard work for us. I was really thinking this would have to be soon.
All right, I think you got the work cut off for you.
I, for one, understand that Treagle hides behind his desk, unwilling to face us himself. It's not even that snake. He holds up a hand to Zader. Sorry.
Dingus nods.
Not even he can bring himself together enough to face us after what he knows he's done. Ridiculous. And she turns and goes and walks back up.
Marshall actually is like,
So just stand. There's some increased flurry of messenger activity around the room as pages and scribes run back and forth at a near sprint, near slamming into each other in one place behind the bakers and butchers stand.
it's like we're back in the arena. So many rats everywhere.
Is the Farmers Guild getting ready to say something, or?
It looks like the Triad's gonna respond as Treagle kind of shakes his head, and he reaches over and puts a hand on Miravel's shoulder, like supportive, and she's just kind of head down, gaze just boring a hole in the desk in front of her, and she almost kind of starts as he touches her, just kind of nods to her, and she gets up and goes to move down. And Treagle just kind of raises a hand to everyone. Well, hold now. We at least gotta let us respond to that. a couple people are kind of moving, you I imagine included,
Yeah.
to say something here. And Mirabelle comes out around the desk and takes like 1-2 steps down. So she's level with like the top of the entryway door. She's still just sort of staring at the ground. We've heard of the difficult circumstances that you have faced, Guildmaster. Unfortunately, through rumor and tale alone, we had no idea of the depths of what it was you had endured.
Resme actually laughs out loud at that.
Rasheen snorts contemptuously.
Subtitles.
Indeed. Hoping to be of aid in any way that we could. Etrix himself had reached out to several clinics throughout the city to ensure that if there was any way we could aid you in your time of need, we would. And she's, again, still just kind of staring down the center of the floor. She's no longer looking up and reading anyone's cases here. And her voice kind of shakes a little. And indeed, I believe it is by the orders of the very doctor you had visited you that it is as crime as any that you are forced to bring such vigor to the floor today, when by all accords you should be resting well at home in the company of those who care for you and those that would aid you in your rest. She sort of closed her eyes and you can see her sort of studying herself a moment. It is not impossible in events of such severe trauma for one's rendition of events, even those experienced, to be distorted or diluted in ways. And Ice Killer slams her hands on the desk. Are you kidding me? As she roars out.
Resme will actually kind of hold her hand up.
You see down the floor that comes out several things. You know, as Alana comes out and raises a hand and looks to the weird hooded figure who looks to Ice Killer.
Resme will just be like, and Resme will get up at this point and walk to the center of the floor.
And as you go to move, Azalena would turn to motion to you as well and hold you back. And that hooded figure would turn his gaze your direction.
Got to let the try finish first, then we can go clean it up.
And kind of pressured here, Mirabelle sort of looks around. She looks like she's like close to tears talking here.
How do I spin this so we're the good guys?
I do not wish to discount the lived experience of one who has been through so much so recently. But I believe whatever has led you to these thoughts you now hold, this is something Etrix would gladly set right. And a discussion perhaps that should wait until the Guildmaster is in better health. We, and those who saw to her, have spoken plain that she is in no proper fitness to speak here today. And again, we wish only that she felt not the need to arrive and could get the rest and recuperation she earned. We had not heard these rumors of the Triad's involvement in whatever has befallen you, Guildmaster. But still, we hold this not against you. This mind is not yours.
Oh, I don't like what I'm about to have to do, but it's going to be bad.
And she turns around and just kind of slowly makes her way up the stairs. And Treagle stands up at the desk. And as Miravel's approaching, he literally holds his arms out, braces her, and she just kind of lays her head on his shoulder and sort of pets her head and looks up directly at Rez.
As I don't know what you're thinking, but if it makes you feel better, yes, you can borrow me hammer.
It's too big.
As he helps her back to her seat, the floor is clear for a moment.
I'll walk to the floor.
Can two people go at the same time? Yeah. So I can assist her, or
There would be people who have spoken pairs. They limit it to these two speakers specifically, so it doesn't devolve into nonsense. But the reason it's limited to two speakers is because you can act together.
Okay.
You can both go. You can both take the floor.
so Roshin will go down with her too. Certainly I can start. If the Triad had wished to do whatever they could to help the Guildmaster, all they had to do was simply unlock her cell door and let her out of the basement of their mansion, where they were preparing to auction her off. We bring this concern to you all because we've seen how the Triad operates. We've seen them operate across the Inner Sea. But it's not their crimes that they committed there that we bring you here for. It's the ones they commit here in Katapesh. Here that they go and tear away at your businesses, at your very lives in some cases, looking to the farmers, looking to the jewelers, and at businesses scanning all about.
The Ice Killer is just trying not to freaking jump over the table at this point. But Kalita, the Farmers Guild, would not deal.
The Triad may have come here as wide-eyed immigrants, seeking to go and make their fortunes, working honestly, making good deals with everyone. But that's the way of the past for them. For some reason, something twisted in your black heart, staring right at Treagle. Now, it's all intimidation, it's all bullying. You think yourselves have some sort of God's gift to go and use people, dry them up, and throw them away when you're done. And everyone here sees it. Even if it hasn't been your loved ones, or your partners, or your guilds, or your guildmates who are kidnapped or extorted. You know they're coming for you next. Every one of you's felt the weight of the Triad boots on your backs. You know they're no friend anymore. They're no partner in Katapesh. It's for their crimes here that we ask you for their censure. It's not for what they do elsewhere. For it is up to them to put the right to their cities. Put right yours as well.
Doubtless, you have lived for quite some time with the Triad in your midst. And as I understand it, slavery is illegal within the walls of Katapesh. So you can understand my...
The knoll up at the desk is kind of... Westmonkers Federation.
So you can understand my confusion when we came here and began to realize that perhaps it wasn't as uncommon within these walls as we thought, and that the only slaves the Triads had taken were those of your guilds. You have all been held as hostage to their ambition, to their unnamed goals, to their machinations throughout the land. But really, what they've stolen from you was your ability to drive Katapesh into the future. You heard her sing her song. You know of the pride you carry, and what you have brought here, and what you have done. Would you truly allow all of that to be torn apart by these interlopers, these creatures who come here to steal your glory and steal the hope that you have built throughout the centuries? Are you truly that naive, that weak to think that they could undo everything that has been done here? I don't believe it. I believe that Katapesh is stronger than that, and as I have spoken to you all, as we have spoken to you all over these past weeks, we've come to believe in it too.
Some nods from the doorway. Azalana nods and motions back to your desk. She's kind of tucked in at this point, but for most of the time out of the plain side of everything, a little bit under where this passageway goes, but visible from the floor. And you have clearly quite a few members of Ascent up here in the ranks, and some nods and some scattered small bits of applause. Ice Killer trying really hard not to lose ground here. But Rez, a hero point of hope, will be used for great knowledge from Crimson Nexus. And Marshall, his coin pile, like my glass, is empty. This makes me sad. Data Tempest.
I don't feel it, my friend.
Thank you.
Marshall and Rez walk up to the gladiator stand. Job is Rez, like, okay, Marshall, no, you can't jump over the table. You get up there, reality, Marshall's like, okay, Rez, you can't jump over the table. There's a bunch of people.
Ha
Nobody had that one on their bingo card, I don't think.
Yep.
Just keep
check
in mind,
that off.
Marshall does have a +1 wisdom, so he has some common sense of the situation.
I recall Marshall just offering Raz his throwing hammer just now.
But he knows better that he won't throw it.
That's
what I'm gonna
It's not that I
say.
can't throw. I won't throw it. It's that I can't pick it up.
So
I mean,
So,
I guess I'm just wanted to close with one more thing. At the end of the day, I'm not really asking you to vote for us. I'm asking you to vote to take back your city, and hoping that your will to do so is stronger than whatever briberies or cunning or sweet little innocence the Triad has dug up from whatever slave hold they found her in.
as you go back to your...
Raise an eyebrow
Tables.
at her.
She is not looking down anymore. She is, like, head in her hands on the desk. Like, trying to compose herself clearly. She's not looking great at the moment. But as you head to the stairs, immediately, standing straight up, is Eitrim from his desk, the Shaitan of the Aspis Consortium. Oh! By the graces of Sarenrae. I wasn't sure that was ever going to end. All right, so I think it's all fair established at this point. Those concerned public who have put forth the motion view the Scarlet Triad quite poorly. And he said, she said, notwithstanding, clearly have some grievances of their own to air. Though, it appears that there is a bit of contention, perhaps, over the port of several points, I suppose. Their business, their contacts, what has happened to our fair guildmaster of the Jewelers Guild, who claims to have seen such woe at the hands of the Scarlet Triad. He would speak of business. He would speak of rising this city. Behind the Consortium itself, of course, I would know of none contributing greater to its success than the Scarlet Triad. And truth be told, were it not for many of Lord Treagle's great business acumen advice sessions that he has given not just myself, but I'm sure many other of you, many of the strokes of genius that has resolved several a hard time in the short few years he's been here. We've all worked with the Scarlet Triad for some time. Hell, like the lady said, we helped him get off the ground. I think we all know well enough what Treagle's about, better than whoever these lads are. I think it's kind of a judgment largely for each of us to make for themselves. I've seen absolutely nothing to prove that our continued business and our good relationships with the Triad and Lord Treagle, who is not only a business companion, but a fine personal friend of mine in the last few years, has done nothing but raise our spirits and stone higher from the sands below. Something I've heard here today that changes anything about that, other than wanton name-calling and strange bouts of hearsay. He just kind of shrugs. Well, that's all we have to stand on. Well, this seems like a simple enough decision to me. And besides, censuring one of our largest companies in the city, it's unprecedented. It's not an action that should be taken lightly, no matter what you think. Even such fervent belief as this lot seems to possess certainly would call to lighter measures before such brazen actions. But I've said my piece. And he just kind of sits back down. He doesn't even bother walking to the floor. He just stands up, addresses everybody.
Raz is I'm going to get up if no one else, if there's no stopping, get up and walk down.
The farmer's guildmaster would meet your eyes and kind of nod to you.
That's my daughter.
My daughter there.
I walk up with Raz, just as a.
Are you going to the floor?
I'm going to the floor.
Okay.
Marshall, be very close, but right behind him.
I am currently speaking for the Gladiators Guild, but let me tell you a bit personally about the Scarlet Triad. I am Yusoki, clearly, and anyone who knows anything about Yusoki culture, we value family. Upon family is fortune and future built. And when one turns against family, you turn against the whole warren. If you cannot trust others with your family, then what future can you build? And I'm actually just pull out my back pocket and pull out shackles. I was a slave to the Triad.
You have triad manacles.
I have.
Oh, baby, do we ever?
I was a slave, captured when I was simply looking for my daughter, and I just look up at Miravel, who was taken from me
He's not looking.
at the city of not Katapesh, but Cantargo. In the city of Cantargo, minding our own, far away on the other side of the inner seas. And I simply, out of personal want, went to seek her. And I got thrown in a whole fiasco with the Triad, learning their reach is deep and that they corrupt and bleed out cities around them. Sure, not Katapesh. Sure, not yet. But when they take something close to you, when they harm a native of Katapesh, such as myself, what's going to stop them coming knocking on your doors and bleeding your families out too, causing the whole of the city to collapse while they profit, as Katapesh's motto is?
Treagle's watching down at this, just kind of stroking his little goatee.
Little.
Little.
Really bemused.
So I ask each of you.
This is a beard.
I ask each of you, how much are you willing to bleed? How much of your family are you willing to sacrifice for them? Because soon, it might not be today or tomorrow, they will come knocking at your door and demanding your blood and demanding what you have. You have anything else to say, Guildmaster?
In all honesty, Raz, you said it in the best of words, but I can definitely notion as fighting them for quite some time, personally, and seeing their actions. Heck, my own distant cousin worked for them at some point and corrupted her and made her a most foul being. And even I had to intervene at some point, because enough is enough. Tyranny and corruption, extortion. Ha! Like my friend, rat friend here said, eventually they're gonna come knocking on your doors and demanding more and more and more until there's nothing left of you. And then what do you have? Just barely skin and bone. And then eventually, it'll be nothing left. It won't be Katapesh, it'll just be Scarlet Triad. And nothing more.
As the group of you, a pair of you, retreat back up to your stand, Guildmaster Khalid will hold a hand and stand from behind the desk. It is true, much of what these newcomers to the city say. They speak with passion and from the heart, because I do believe that they have experienced the woes that which they tell us. Similarly, I feel that there is precious little to be had and much more discussion, as many of you around these desks have felt the same effects. I know that in the operations of the Farmers Union in recent past, I very much have. Many of these offers of assistance, of help, that Treagle and the Triad would extend, are edged on both sides, where they would save face by claiming they're aiding us. As the new guild master of the Gladiators Guild says, they bleed us dry with the other. I think, at this point, perhaps Lord Azus of the Consortium has the right of it in at least one way. I motion for this to be put to a vote. If I read this room correctly as I do, I feel there is little more that can be accomplished with words. And she sort of looks around, and as Alana comes out from the overhang and turns up to the group, putting both of her hands up. The motion has been passed to move to a vote on the act of the censure of the Scarlet Triad and their operations within the city, as well as rescinding the boons and protections afforded by the Pactmasters of said same city. Do any among us still wish to make their voices heard?
he was not put on the talking council.
Yeah, he's not on the list. He can't talk.
It's a two-man
That's why he's not
ordeal.
talking. He's just standing on my shoulder, shaking his
And
head.
Friegel, so then there's kind of just shakes his head. The Shaitan of the Aspis Consortium just shrugs. Many of the other guildmasters wave it off or shake their heads as well. And Azalana turns again to the strange hooded figure, who simply nods at her once. Well then, based on the fervor with which these cases have been pled and brought before the city today, I think this eve perhaps it is easier we stick to tradition rather than eschew it for the sake of brevity. We will proceed by your station down the ascension of guilds, and you will have your voices heard. Yitram Azas of the Aspis Consortium. And the Shaitan just makes a dismissive gesture. No! This motion is ridiculous, and near an insult to the city to be brought forth at all. I can see no possible reason for this line of action other than to destabilize Katapesh itself for some personal reasons, much as the history I've seemed to dig up with this group implies they've done a fair few times in the past. No, I'm against. And we would then turn to Treagle. Etrix Treagle of the Scarlet Triad. Kind of smirks. Sorry to make my opinion known. Clearly, I'm not going to vote for my own censure. No.
You made a good point.
It's like,
yeah.
You know, I am kind of a
I am
bad
kind
guy.
of a jerk.
She would turn to.
I deserve this.
She would turn to the next desk on the other side of the consortium. Aldane Zulron of the Imperial Union of Breeders. And a woman would kind of stand, lowering her hood to reveal an incredible amount of jewelry, almost obscuring most of her facial features. Massive nose rings, huge studs through her eyebrows, even just pierced through the cheeks and her ears. Her face wrought in gold.
Hey, it's an automaton.
See, Sheenie, that's what happens when you don't have restraint.
Shake her head. I have known nothing but peace and fair business from the Scarlet Triad. These allegations that have been put forth today are concerning, if true, until tried fairly. I see no reason to hold against the Scarlet Triad. No. I stand against. And she sits back down. Not a good start. Ixavazu, the Jewelers Guild. And Last Killer just kind of... Fine! Yes! You stacked this in every way you possibly could, Treagle. Making us all sit here and stew for 2 hours before we can even get to the main event. Making sure those who stand with you tightest will be leading the votes. That's what you're doing, isn't it? Organizing it this way. Making it look like there's no favor carried against you and that this is just wild accusations from myself and Guildmaster Khalid. You'll see the way this falls. I don't think you'll like it. Repeal the protections. And sits back down. Sethba Alazora of the Fleshmongers Federation. Kind of stands.
It seems you have stepped on one too many toes, Treagle. We approve. Vote for the censure of the Scarlet Triad.
And sits back down. Hawkus Ron of the Poison Makers Guild. And Zader kind of looks over to a halfling that has come with her.
I'm sorry, I don't know why that got me.
Little honk.
Halflings have the cutest names.
And she looks over. This halfling kind of pulls himself up and stands up on a chair. Dingus kind of goes up towards him. He fends it off. Puts one hand on Dingus's head. And calls out, "That was little I need to hear of the conversation today. A close one of my associates, whose opinion I regard in high esteem, has told me much and all I need to know of the Triad's true operations in the city. The Poison Makers Guild would see the Triad censured. We vote for." And sits back down, and Zader kind of looks over towards the three of you. See it and just sort of smiles. Let's see. Rin Zelver of the Fraternal Order of the Anvil. And a middle-aged man stands together. I wasn't sure what this is about, and till I received some interesting whispers on the wind about some of the truth of these claims, honestly. I have no personal stake in this. I do have one in my business, in the greater good of Katapesh. I think that is the vote for, essentially the Scarlet Triad.
Did
And
you talk to him?
he looks over to the hooded figure that's kind of sitting over there. It's just been watching each person as they make their votes. He nods to whatever this figure in the distance is, and then sits back down.
That yes belongs to you.
Lalia Khalid of the Farmers Union. And she stands. I agree to the censure of the Triad, simply put. They've menaced us all long enough, and I'd say it ended. Sits back down. Shaman Ulkratu of the League of Peshmongers, a dwarf, a very kind of scrunched face and a huge knobbed nose, stands up.
Very brown teeth.
Gray handkerchief pulled around his forehead. You don't do your own stash. Fine teeth.
You don't get high on your own supply.
You can also afford the best dentist.
I've had but one interaction with these interlopers to our city. I wish I'd had none. I don't know if there's any truth to these claims against the Triad, but I stand with the breeders. We can't hold the guilty. We can't hold the accused party guilty until we know what's happened to things. And besides, I'm less inclined to believe it just from the mouth it's coming from. Nay.
He sits back down. He ain't happy. Corbin Dooley of the Carpenters Guild. A half-elf woman stands up, hands folded. Aye. I believe it's in the best interest of us all to end our reign. I approve the censure. Ekrita Sheerpeak, a female dwarf, standing, her hair done back in a fine gilded braid, rode about with a variety of very shiny ribbons she has cast across her shoulder here, and done up, looking almost not even like a dwarf with the amount of makeup and the way her garb hangs around her to make almost intentionally make her appear as human as possible. And she stands and puts a hand across her chest here. This is the Street Sweepers and Dung Carters. Indeed. Simply business, Lord Treagle. I approve of the censure. Sits back down, and finally, the only other Eruxi in the room stands up. Her face...
Only
more...
Roxy in the room.
What?
No one can see him.
So,
I'm not hiding.
she stands up.
Yes.
Her face, much more slender. The ridges around her eyes muted, drawing down into her snout much more directly. There is no direct, clear sexual dimorphism among the Eruxi that I know of.
Stop using big words.
But she looks
I would imagine it's quite literally like male and female lizards.
kind of, yeah, it's not super visible. But again, she carries herself and she has arranged herself and she has polished around her scales. It looks like in some places even sanded down a bit to give herself a bit of a smoother appearance, I think perhaps more palatable. And she stands for the Order of Alchemists and Potion Makers and nods. It is in the best interest of the city indeed. We will cease all contracts with the Scarlet Triad and see them censured. And sits back down. And at that, is Alana, who looks kind of a little concerned at this point, turns up to the hooded figure, who nods back down again, and holds both his hands up, the backs of the palms out, finally rising from this gown he has that almost completely obscures the fact that he even has arms out from the folds. And she turns back. Then, the motion has passed. Scarlet Triad operations in the city of Katapesh are officially censored, and any and all benefits of the protection of the Pactmasters of the city have been rescinded as of this very moment. And again, Ice Killer slams her hands down and stands up. But I want to see him tried as the animal he is for everything he's done to us. And Khalid stands up from the farmers union. There's much and more that I would bring against him for what he has done to all of our people, not just those directly affected. And it kind of starts to descend a bit into chaos pretty rapidly as a couple of people are very upset with the concept of the Triad and have the first opportunity to stand against them here.
How about you guys let us take care of
As you
that?
speak up, this figure at the end of the room stands and brings his hand together once, and everyone shuts up instantly.
Sit back down.
I whisper Raz, I'm like, and you were worried about me losing my head.
Shh. Just kind of looks around the room. And Treagle puts a hand forward. May I speak? I seek not to turn the tide of events at this point. It's clear that ship is very well sailed. And the figure kind of looks at him and nods slowly. He kind of motions to Jellic and Miravel to come down the stairs with him to the stage. He just turns around, faces everyone.
It was your chin that did you in.
I've long expected my ungrateful neighbors in the city to someday betray me, even after everything we've done for you. But unfortunately, I find myself unsurprised by the many services the Scarlet Triad has rendered for each and near every one of you sat before me today. There's no point. No matter. He would stand against me for claims of slavery as he looked up to the Fleshmongers Federation, while championing that very guild. It's irrelevant. Fine. Seeing the way the winds have blown, the Triad will be departing for more enlightened and welcoming allies to ply our trade and establish our headquarters far from the city of Katapesh. Hopefully this pleases the fine council of guilds assembled here today. To ensure ongoing civility during these final hours of our time here, as we seem to have somehow offended many, we are hosting, well, he kind of turns around to the hooded figure, one of your very own Pactmasters is our guest at the Red Pyramid. His safety will mirror our own. And just stares. This, again, tall figure just sort of looming above everything here, looks down toward him. Nods once. And he holds a hand out and motions for Azalana to come to him. She's kind of just looking around, a little concerned by the very obvious threat. Makes her way up the stairs towards this Pactmaster. He leans down and says something to her. And she turns out to the party. Or turns out to everyone assembled here. No one here present today, nor any figure on behalf of the city of Katapesh, is to waylay or intervene in Scarlet Triad's affairs for 3 days. This should be plenty enough time for the group to vacate the Red Pyramid and leave for distant fields. But agreeable, Lord Treagle. He kind of smiles and nods up. Yes! I think that'll very well do. Looks up at the group of you. The scowl, that look on his face.
Just a big toothy grin on mine.
I purposely tried to make eye contact with this guy, and I ignite my beard and do
Turns
a
and
slight intimidation.
Motions for Miravel and
Marking him for
Miravel and Jellic, and they head out the way that everyone had entered, making their way out of the council hall. As Lana kind of ends the procedures pretty shortly afterward, just having come to a natural conclusion, awkward as it was. And the Pactmaster present is the first to descend the stairs and head back further into the depths of the council hall from whence him and Azalana had originally emerged.
I want to follow him.
Can
Care to get his attention?
I get Azalana's attention?
One of their attention?
That would be super easy because as he goes, Azalana would actually immediately be coming for the group of you. As would Ice Killer, just Ice Killer really, would be coming over as well. You would definitely catch a glare from the Shaitan, from Lord Izos of the Consortium.
Just gonna...
Who looks at you and kind of narrows his brow.
I mean, I would presume Raz and I would try to join the group, and as I'm walking over, I'm like, so Raz, you think I did okay for my first meeting?
You did fabulous, Marshall.
Thank you. And I'm proud of you for not killing that one little Chad-looking guy over there with me hammer.
So, my lady.
Yes. I believe our requests may be one and the same here.
It seems
If you
as though-
could-
We'll get him back.
If you could possibly stay for some moment, we would trouble you for a fair bit more of your time. The Pactmasters wish to speak with you directly.
Of course.
Of course.
And don't you worry. We'll get him back.
We are not the Kapeshi entity, so to speak.
We are technically covered under the
And at
proclamation
that-
that was just met.
I think we will end today's session. When we come back next week, we will meet with the shadowy Pactmasters of Katapesh themselves.
I know Treagle's face now. I cast Nightmare.
I'm just watching Treagle leave, drooling with a big toothy grin.
We have successfully censured the Scarlet Triad and rescinded the city's protections. And I believe,
Now we eat
very
them, right?
possibly, what the Pactmasters have to say to us might be quite interesting with how we proceed further forward here.
You can't do
Don't do
anything for 3
anything.
days.
Don't do anything for 3 days.
I'm
Regardless,
sorry, the Packmaster they have kidnapped is gonna die.
regardless, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for hanging out.
Do Pactmasters like shave? Like, do they have to
You don't
shave?
see any part of them, so you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Like, what
it
if
could
they're
just be beard all the way down. You'd never
It's
know.
actually
That's
they're
what
just,
the cone is for.
Yeah.
that's what like
What
when
if they're all
dwarves
just
shave their
peasant
beard, that's what
Next
happens. They become sentient.
week,
I bet they're all just women who don't like shaving their legs.
we're
like me.
moving into the final chapter of this adventure.
Level 18 now, right?
No,
No,
We're level 20.
Shove it.
you want to be here.
Hey.
We'll see you then. Good night, everybody.